Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to the AV Experience Podcast. We're at episode 92 tonight. Jonathan is got some family stuff going on. I think he's got a cold, so he's going to be missing out tonight.
Slacker.
I told him, get some rest, man. Family always comes first. I think he's got some kind of virus kind of running around his family. So be praying for him tonight. But hopefully you guys are having an awesome week. Ryan, what is going on, my brother?
What is going on? I don't even really remember what happened this week. We go skiing next week.
Yes, baby.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Hopefully we both don't die. You know, if the show all of a sudden doesn't run.
Yeah, that'd be bad if M-Wave shuts down because Ryan and Youthman,
collide on a jump.
I'm on a snowboard.
Something.
Yeah.
That'd be one of my skis or my poles spears Michael.
Youthman gets impaled by Ryan Charpentier's ski pole. That would be bad.
Should we do the stream from there?
Claude actually called me today, and he actually offered that. He said, if you guys want to do that, we could do that. It might be fun. Get him in there too, and we'll just hang out and have some fun.
I think that would be good.
Yeah. So
then we just got to get Jonathan out there.
Sure. But
nothing else really is going on. We finally got my theater cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
I rented a storage unit, so that's nice.
Cool.
I don't know if I talked about that before.
No.
We got a 15 by 45 foot storage unit. So it's enormous, but I'm splitting it with another local AV guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we moved a bunch of shelves out there. So I got like everything out of my garage, which was amazing to get all that space back.
Yeah, for real.
So that was a huge change. I don't really think anything else is going on. I mean, next project for the theater is paint, doing it all in Duratex for the background color for black for before the Officina stuff gets here. Then we decided that we are going to like sand or polish and then seal and level the floor instead of doing like any type of laminate or engineered wood or tile or anything. We're just going to leave it concrete because it makes it a lot more flexible, and I'll do some type of dark stain or something. Because it is a basement, and you know, if I don't have to do anything with it, saves money, and if it ever leaks for some reason, I don't have to worry about anything on the floor, which is excellent.
Nice.
Outside of that, I don't really think anything else is going on aside from just getting ready to leave this weekend. What about you?
So my AC went out, so that's been exciting.
Yes, I remember you saying that.
The good thing is normally in Florida it's pretty warm, but right now we're in like 50-degree weather, so it's been actually quite nice and it's cool in the house, so no issues there. They're coming out tomorrow. But man, that junk's expensive.
It is, isn't it?
I think home ownership is overrated at times. But the blessing, so here's what I look at in life. You're guaranteed things to break and not work out the way you plan and all that good stuff. So we just have to go into it knowing that these things are going to happen occasionally. And it stinks. It's a huge inconvenience, but you know, it is what it is, and you can't change that. But the good thing is it's been 17 years and we've had zero issues.
I mean, that's some pretty good luck.
Yeah. So apparently I've got a friend of mine that's in the AC business. He works for Train and like corporate. He said, normally you get about 12, 15 years out of them a lot of times. So to get 17, he said, you're doing all right. So, but yeah, so we got that coming out tomorrow. So I'll be replacing that. Definitely got my money out of it, Josh. So again, you just got to look at stuff, and it's like you either laugh about it or cry about it, and you know, what can you do? So it's all good. So I'm grateful that, you know, we've learned over the years, you got to put some money aside for rainy days because stuff is going to happen. They usually say about every 10 years, something major financially happens in your life.
Or if you're in my life, it's like every year.
So, you know, fortunately we do have the money set aside, but it stinks having to use it, but you know, but that is good. So that's the only thing new in my life.
Anything positive going on in your life aside from air conditioners going out?
Yes. And I want to share that. This is cool. So tonight my daughter comes in and she says, hey Dad, can we watch a movie in the theater room? I said, sure, no problem. So I get her set up in the theater room, and it's her boyfriend of 9 years. They've been dating since middle school. And then a friend of theirs. And so they go in there and they're they look through the, collection, everything, and they're like, okay, let's watch Interstellar. So turn them loose, come back into my office, and after a while, man, my whole house is going nuts. Crazy, crazy bass. And so I was like, golly. So I walked to the from my office to the theater room door. And as soon as I get to the door, I mean, it gets dead silent. Just in the movie, it just a really quiet spot.
Mm-hmm.
And all I hear was, whoa, that was intense. I was like, yeah, baby.
It's always nice to get that feedback from somebody else that isn't you, because you're like, I've done something right.
That was, but just I heard it from outside the door. They're like, whoa, that was intense. So that made my day. I'm like, but I do have like some rattles in the room. So I've got to spend some time taming those rattles. It's part of the cabinet. So I need to figure out where it's coming from. I know it's in the top right area, but I've got to reinforce that because you do hear it in certain frequencies and it excites that panel and it just starts flapping up there. So not ideal. So hopefully you guys are figuring out ways to tame your rattles in your room, whether it's your door, whether it's an air vent or whatever. And speaking of that, I just put out a review on the Martin Logan Motion XT series with their Dynamo 16X subwoofer. And one thing I thought that was really cool with that subwoofer is they have built into their app a frequency sweep, which I thought was super cool. You hit the frequency sweep and it just starts going from 20 hertz to I think 120 hertz. So it cycles through that on a loop. And then if you hear anything vibrate in your room, you can just hit pause and then you start using the up and down, or I'm sorry, the positive and negative hertz and just kind of go up and down. And I was able to find, I think it was a 27 hertz in this room here, right up here on my, like the door latch. It just starts wobbling. So I don't think I'm going to fix it, but
there's a problem. Don't think I'm going to do anything about it.
But it was cool that you could actually do that internally in the app. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Well, let's face it, Michael, what you're going to do is just turn it up so you don't hear it.
That's basically it. So the problem in the theater room, you can hear it. She even texted me. She says, here, I'll read you the text. She says, the screen is making a weird shaking noise. And so I went in there. I'm like, what do you mean, babe? She's like, I don't know, like something up there is like making a weird noise. I said, okay, yeah. I said, during the big bass scene, she's like, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm aware of it. I just haven't had a chance to get up there and play with it and figure it out. So, well, cool, man. We got lots of folks listening in. We got some from, let me know where you're listening in. We got some from Cincinnati. What did I just say? Cincinnati?
No, you said Cincinnati. You said it right.
In my brain, I heard something else. I'm like, that's not Cincinnati. San Antonio, Texas. Good to see you, Errol. Who else? Daniel, good to see you, man. Said, nice to finally catch one of your live streams. Grateful you're here, brother. Lots of folks. Charlie, good to see you. Michael, John. Where else are you guys from? I'm just looking to see if anybody mentioned. Yep, Laguna Beach. Where's Laguna Beach? Where's that at? California?
Yes.
Nice. See if anybody else. Omaha. Good to see you, Derek. Ohio. Got Australia. I love when you guys are across the pond, man. Palm Beach Gardens. Heck yeah, man. Wisconsin. Miami. We got some Utah folks. We're heading your way, brother. This, I think Saturday morning, Jessica and I and my daughter, Rebecca, we fly out. And then Ryan, you fly in Sunday?
Friday. Okay,
so you're coming the day before us.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be flying out to Utah. We got an invite from one of our OG VIPs from M-Wave. So he graciously invited us like last year and didn't really think much about it. But then one day I was like, you know what? So I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, do you remember that invitation to come out to your place and do some skiing and snowboarding? I'm like, is that still open? He's like, heck yeah, man, we'd love to have you out. And so Claude and his wife invited us, and he said, man, Ryan and his wife and family, they're welcome to come too. We got a big place. And so Ryan's like, I want to go.
I'm going.
So we're like, let's make it happen, man. So Claude talked to me today, and he said, if we wanted to live stream from there, we may try to do that. It won't be anything fancy, but it'll just be a laptop and something
probably
like
a
that.
phone.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
we might be able
Claude
to do
seems
that.
like he may be the kind of guy that's got some stuff there.
He might.
He
He for
might.
sure might.
He may be like, hey, heard we were live streaming, so I got all this.
Yeah, he just went out and bought it. So he and his wife Wendy, I'm gonna throw this out there. Let me look here if I can find their channel. Now watch me not even be able to find it when I'm thinking about it. Claude, if you're watching Mountain High Adventures, oh man, I'm messing it up. I'd have to go back and look at my history. Anyway, if I find it, I will let you know. I'll put it in the description of this video. But anyway, he and his wife are starting a YouTube channel. They're building a beautiful home. It's going to have a dedicated theater room in it. And they were like, you know what? We're just going to document this whole process. And so I think that is super cool. That's something I wish I would have done via video. I did that through a, what do you call it? A build thread in the AVS forum many years ago as I was building out my home theater. Had a lot of questions and was utilizing the folks there, and they would kind of help guide me and steer me because I didn't know what I was doing. And so that was super cool. But I really wish I would have filmed a lot of that stuff back then. And so I think it's exciting that he's doing that. And so he's going to document that whole journey. Got some folks going to Axpona, California. Snow Basin is great. Yeah. Where are we going? What is the name of the place? Do you remember?
Park City.
Park City?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Chris wants to hide in a suitcase and he won't fart in there.
Well, that's your own problem. It's not our problem. I mean, you're going to be basking in it, marinating in it. It ain't our issue, Chris.
Hey, Claude, here he is, man. Good to see you. Claude, give me the name in the chat of your YouTube channel. I drew a blank. He'll drop it here in just a second. But man, super appreciative for you and your wife loaning out your home and just being so. Claude, just to speak on like his friendship, last year, man, he came to registration. He's like, dude, what can I do to help? And so he was helping out with registration, helping out with the vendors. So super grateful for you, brother. Really, really cool guy. Park City. He's going to drop it in the chat in a second. There you go. Mountain Modern Adventure. Let me pull it up here. I'll drop it in the chat for you guys. Mountain Modern Adventures. So he's got some friends. Imagine that. He's got friends, man. He was just featured on their YouTube channel, which was really cool. So here, I'll drop this in the chat. Mountain Modern Adventures. So they're, like I said, they're going to be documenting their whole build process there. Claude, remind me what you described it. I don't know the term, but it's basically when you're kind of doing, I guess, all the contracting and a lot of the building yourself. Home? No. What do you call that? You know what it's called, Ryan? When you kind of do it yourself instead of like just hiring a contractor.
Well, he's like a general contractor for himself. GM, general manager.
Okay, he called it an owner
builder. Yeah.
So I'm just not familiar with that phrase, but so that's going to be a cool process. So I encourage you guys to go over their channel, show Claude some love, and just kind of watch that build. And then of course, hopefully he'll be documenting his home theater journey. He's like, man, I got my speakers, but that's it. I don't have nothing else. And we might even get kind of creative. He told me he had an idea. So we might have a little fun while we're out there and regards to his home theater. So, but be on the lookout for that. So very cool. All right, man. So tonight we're going to be talking about something that came up just this past week. And so you guys are familiar with D-Box. D-Box are in a lot of the, like your commercial cinemas, but not too long ago, probably within the past couple years, they kind of made this announcement that they were going to try to enter into the consumer market. So they're making them available to just guys like you and me. You can buy them. They recently partnered with Valencia Theater Seating. But then we get this information. I think this came from maybe some dealers. I don't know if Ryan found this or Jonathan. But I'm just going to share my screen.
Jonathan found this.
So D-Box as a company isn't shutting down, but their like consumer market is. Here, let me see if I can. Let me make that window bigger. See if that helps. You guys see that okay? Might be chopping off a little bit. Anyway, so the biggest thing is D-Box Home Theater ends their sales. They've got yeah, that's still cutting off. Let me do this, guys. Give me 1 second. Let me close this. I don't understand why it's not. Okay, so maybe there we go. Now you can see it. All right, it's way over there on my big monitor. So hopefully I can see it. But anyway, they've got some frequently asked questions. I'm not going to go through all this, but the biggest thing is like, how long would D-Box continue to provide support and repairs for home theater customers? D-Box will continue providing support and repairs for the next 7 years until April 30th of 2031. And so I don't think this is available on their website. I tried to find it. Again, this was probably just sent out to dealers and maybe shared in the AVS forum. But apparently D-Box is no longer going to be offering their products in the consumer market, which is kind of unfortunate, man, because I think it's a really cool addition that you can add to your home theater. Just gives just a more immersive experience when it's dialed in correctly. Like anything in life, you can have it overdone and it can take you out of that experience if you're just like flying all around the seat, you've got it maxed out. But if you've got it really subtle, I mean, if you're I just remember being in Tony, SOWK, his was the first, actually his is the only home theater that I've ever experienced D-Box in. And I just remember we were watching, I don't think it was Midway, but it was one of kind of like an old World War II movie. And the plane just took a dive like forward, started going down. And when it did, the D-Box seats leaned forward, dude. It was trippy. Like in my brain was like, oh, wow. I mean, I knew that it was the chairs, but it definitely just added an element of believability to what I was seeing on screen. So I thought it was really cool. And then, later on, we turned it up quite a bit for just the intro video. And I mean, we're all over the place. So you wouldn't watch it like that because it's a little overwhelming. But man, that kind of stinks. So I always hate it when I see good brands like shutting their doors for consumers. But the reality is if they're not making money on it. But the weird thing, Ryan, I mean, I never really heard much from them, like you didn't really hear any advertising.
Well, it may have been what some other companies do in that they don't really want to be in necessarily the residential market, but they are just there and they're offering it, right? There's projector companies that do that. There's a lot of different companies that do this in both the audio and video space, and they showcase like they want to be there, but actually on the business side, they don't really. So what a lot of, and I'm not saying this is what D-Box did, but a lot of times what will happen is companies will inflate their prices and just be like, well, if somebody wants to buy it, they'll buy it, but they don't really push it. So maybe at this point, they're just like, nobody's really doing anything. So let's just concentrate on the sim and the commercial market and move on.
Yeah.
Because it's probably a huge cost investment for them to do all the movies and stuff that they're having to do for residential. And if they don't have to do that, except for like DCI, then I mean, huge cost savings for them.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Right.
This is just me guessing of what's happening. So, take that with a
so
grain of salt.
Yeah, we just mainly want to let you guys know, in case you were considering D-Box or maybe you have D-Box in your home. So they are going to continue that support for many years, about 7 years. So that's at least good. At least they're not saying, no, we'll give you 6 months. So I always appreciate it when a company shuts down their doors that they still honor their commitments to their current customers. So that speaks highly of them as a company. So cool, man. So if you guys have questions tonight, definitely drop those in the chat. We'll be going through those in the order that they are received. Super chats get priority. We'll bump those up top.
Well, I want to know what your feeling is on D-Box.
Like I said, I've only had one experience with D-Box. So that was Tony's. So Man, that was what, 4 years ago, maybe. And so he had 3 seats. The front 3 seats had D-Box, and took him a long time to save up for it and to build them, because he had to. They didn't sell it back then, to consumers.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to kind of figure out a way to buy them used on the used market, because they were very, very, very expensive even at that time. And so when they came out to the home theater, I'm thinking, man, that's pretty cool that we have an opportunity to get these into more people's hands. I enjoyed it. And again, the biggest thing is the guys in Wisconsin, many of them, the guys in Kansas City, one big thing that I have seen over and over and over, one common thread is calibration. And I think everything kind of rises and falls on calibration. You can have the greatest speakers, you can have the greatest projector, you can have the greatest all kinds of stuff. If it's not dialed in, if it's not calibrated, if it's not performing to its best, then it's not going to be the greatest experience. And the same thing with D-Box. If you have it, turned up too much, your brain is going to be, you're not even going to be focused on what's going on the screen and immersed into that story. You're going to be thinking, whoa, this is a cool ride, or
Now,
man, I'm getting motion sickness.
I do think that part of that, though, is subjective, because some people like it more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm throwing this out, Sheldon typically likes it more. There's nothing wrong with that. It's all subjective and based on what you personally like. And the cool thing about home theaters, you can create an experience that is for you. It's not for anybody else. It can be, but you can create an experience that is specific to you. So if you like having things dialed up more, great. That's the greatest thing about this, is being able to granularly change how all of this plays out, so you get the experience that you want.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you don't like Michael being jostled around like you're in an like a M4 Patton or something?
Nah, not so much. I like stuff that's kind of subtle. So when it gets too bouncy, then my brain says there's something going on beneath me, and then I get pulled out of the movie, and that's the last thing I want to do when I'm watching a movie. I don't want the distraction. That's why I need to go in there and tame that rattle, because if I'm watching a movie and I hear the rattle, then I'm no longer involved in that movie.
Just
I'm
turn
like,
the bass up.
it just makes the rattle that much worse. It gets bad.
But if you're deaf, you can't hear it.
But I'm not deaf, though.
You could be eventually.
I don't want to be deaf.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. Yeah. So like here, SRW 1000 said on the D-Box calibration, he didn't actually care for it at Cedia, but Tony has it dialed in perfectly. So Tony's got a great setup there. And like I said, I think it really rises and falls on calibration. If you really know what you're doing, and it's kind of like, I guess it's like seasoning, with your food. Put a little bit on there, man, it can just really add to that experience. You dump a whole lot on there and you're going to be like, wow, this sucks. So what's different about your head, Ryan?
What's different about my head?
I don't know. He's like, that was random.
Oh,
Nicholas
I cut down the beard a little bit.
So it's just
down to like a 1.5
there you
instead of being an inch long. So I don't look like I just walked out of the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah. So like he said, Van Gool says, I'm like Michael, I focus on the movie, and then certain things can take you out of it, So yeah, I like things that are subtle. Zachary, I agree with you, man. Awesome. Cool, man. All right. So let's go ahead and start going through some questions. If you got them, drop them in the chat. And let me see. Bruce, appreciate the $2 super chat. Always love and supportive there. Siphonics Audio, good to see you. He's from Canada. Joseph was at the Florida Audio Expo. Actually, I guess I can talk a little bit about that. Had a chance to visit there. I've gone pretty much every year since they started, I guess maybe 5 years ago. I think there was only 1 year that I missed. It's primarily a 2-channel show. They rent out a hotel in Tampa, and there's probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 floors that they rent out. So there's quite a few rooms on each floor. Some of those have, there's probably like some of the vendors are staying in those rooms. So not all of those rooms are occupied, but you go room to room. So a lot of the brands I'm familiar with, I say a lot. there were some brands I'm familiar with, a lot of brands I'm not familiar with because they're in the kind of the upper echelon 2-channel, pretty exotic, some well over $100,000 speakers and cables and turntables. So definitely just some really, really high-end gear there. But then they had some affordable stuff. SVS was there. Somebody mentioned in the comments on Facebook, they said, man, I like per listen, but I wish they had something more affordable. I wish there was affordable option at the show. And I said, man, that is the affordable option at that show, because some of them get very, very expensive. I saw a pair of $70,000 speaker cables. I think the first year I went, it blew me away. I'd never seen anything like that. And I'm like, holy cow. So Joseph was there from Canada. He was working with a brand there, doing some articles and some write-ups. So he's taken a ton of photos. He was super pumped. I got a chance to meet him in person. He and I have been friends over the past probably 5 or 6 years, and online. And so it was great meeting up with you. And I think he just posted, he said, I'm exhausted. Where's it at? Yeah, he said he's exhausted. 3 days of climbing stairs, like doing CrossFit, 700 photos. So he's got a lot of work to do. So definitely check out his channel on Facebook. And I believe he's got an Instagram and a YouTube channel as well. But yeah, so there were only 2 rooms that were home theater. And that's really where my heart and passion is. I mean, I like listening to music, but I've never gone into my living room and just sat down for like an hour listening to music. I don't think I've ever done that. Some guys are 2-channel and they just want the room quiet. They just want to focus and sit there for long periods of time, drinking their bourbon or whatever. But I've just never gotten into that. So definitely the SVS room, per listen room, that's where, my heart kind of gravitates because they're home theater. And so SVS had their new, and I'm going to butcher it because here's the hard thing. They've got Prime Pinnacle and they've got the Ultra series. And I think the new series called the Ultra Pinnacle and like the Ultra Titan. So they're
Chat's going to tell us.
They're kind of combining some names, and I think it's going to get a little confusing. At least it is to me. But they've got their new series. We've talked about them on the show here. Look super cool. They sounded good. The rooms in any hotel room are not going to be ideal. They're not treated rooms. There's limited time for setup. And definitely, like, even if you've got, like, I was sitting, at first I was sitting in the 3rd row. So, the center channel is being blocked by the front 3 people. So that wasn't really ideal. And when I moved up, my friend Derek was in the primary listening position in front. And then I was off axis just a little bit. So I'm hearing mostly that right speaker and then some of the center channel, hardly not
Ultra
much.
Evolution Pinnacle.
Yeah. See what I'm saying? It's like,
that just sounds like you asked Chat GPT to be like, name a speaker. And that's what it came. And then the Titan Tower 3 floor standing model.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean,
so
that just
but it's interesting because they're using Ultra. So to me, that comes from the Ultra series that it's replacing. But then they're also saying this is Pinnacle, and they previously have a Prime Pinnacle, which was a lower tier. So I think it's just it might cause some confusion on, like, where do these lie? And they're actually their premium speaker now. Like, this is their flagship speaker.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to retail for, I think, $5,000 for the biggest ones. The smaller towers are going to retail for $4,000. I think they have one other smaller one. Yes.
Okay.
And then one other one. I think it's correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think I'm pretty sure they're $5,000 a pair, $4,000 a pair, or $3,000 a pair.
So the flagships are taking on the Martin Logan F200s.
Yeah. So they're along that kind of series is where they're headed. So that'll be interesting to see how that plays out once they kind of get out into the wild. I believe they're going to be releasing those. I think they said March, if I'm correct. So those will be out in the wild. So be looking for those. But that was a cool room to experience. They had the dual SB3000s, I think. So they had 2 sealed subwoofers because it's not a big room.
I don't really buy the idea that just because they're in hotel rooms that it's not going to be good. Like, you
I'm not
can
saying,
do things to them, to the hotel
yeah,
rooms. They just choose not to.
yeah. Well, sometimes again, kind of talking about everything comes down to calibration too.
Yeah,
So
but it's a hotel room. I mean, you walk into even these big manufacturers' hotel rooms, they didn't do a lot. Like,
yeah,
they're there for a day or two ahead of time.
I said that. Yep.
It doesn't take up that much. Come on. Why is my camera freezing?
Reason.
There we go. It doesn't take up that much time, and you could bring acoustic treatments to make it way better, but they choose not
And
to.
some of them did. I
Some of
did
them
notice
do,
that in some of the rooms they had a handful of
but many
treatments.
don't.
Yeah. One
Like,
room, man, I can't remember what it was. Was it the Per-Listen room, the 2-channel room? I think it was the Per-Listen room. They actually had looked like some GIK panels.
yeah,
So they had some like the combo panels in one row, and then like a couple feet apart, there were some absorption.
it makes
I'm
a
like,
huge difference.
so they were,
Huge.
well, you know how you and Jonathan, or maybe it was Jonathan that said, if he had an ideal room, he would want it like 14 or 16 feet tall, right?
Yeah.
These rooms are 8.
Yeah, but you want that for the top speakers, and you want it
They're
for, like, the whole volume. The further away you can sit from a speaker, the larger the
Mhm.
sweet spot. And why does my camera keep locking up?
I don't know, man. It's you.
So the top speakers, the height of the ceiling just helps a lot with the tops. I mean, my ceiling's 7'8" in my
Mhm.
theater.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is what it
So,
is. I mean,
but they had, like I said, they had a cool room, and then Per-Listen had a cool room. They actually had what, 2 rooms? 2 or 3. I think they
they
had 2
usually have a
rooms.
bunch.
So they had the 7, tell me the models, the big ones. R7,
The S7Ts?
yes, S7Ts. So they had those in a 2-channel setup, and then across the hall they had a full Dolby
Mm,
Atmos setup. They had a little nice rig, kind of like what we do at M-Wave. So they were able
mhm.
to mount their speakers up top. I think they had 2 up front or 2 on the top. So it was like a 5.2.2 system.
Good.
But they had the big boys in there. The D probably 212,
The
I think.
D215s, the big ones?
I don't know if it was the biggest ones. But anyway, they were powerful. They were nice. So super, super cool. But they actually told them to turn it down. So they had an iPad in there and they downloaded the cheapest um, dB meter. And so they had to keep it under 90 dB the whole time. So I was like,
Lame.
well, we're not gonna limit you at M waves.
Lame.
But it's a cool show, really, really cool show. So if you ever get a chance to go to something like that, Florida Audio Expo, there's Saxpona, there's our show, M Wave, there's Audio Advice Live. All of these offer something unique. And with M Wave, the biggest thing that we're trying to focus on is community. I mean, that's one thing that I really value, like the relationships that we have. Like, I know Joseph, I know a lot of you guys that have been to the show. I've known and got to meet people through the home theater tours. And so those type of relationships, the relationship with Claude and folks like that, and people even in my that are patrons, I've known for quite a few years, and we do Zoom calls, and so we're building relationships. And so that's a huge part of what we're trying to do with M-Wave. So we'd love for you guys to join us if you can. We've got the show coming up here soon, Ryan, June 21st through the 23rd, man. He's like, I got a lot to do.
This is where I start to stress.
Yeah.
Michael's like, "Bring it on!" And I'm
Uh,
starting to sweat.
It's like
Uh,
I just keep going through. I'm the hype man, but yeah, man, we're gonna have a great time at it. Midwest AV Experience. You can get the tickets there, and it's gonna be super super cool. It's in Kansas City, so even if you're not local, man, we've got guys flying in from the UK. We've got Canada, Hawaii, Puerto Rico. So they're literally coming from all over the world. So check the flights, get you a hotel, hook up with a couple people in here, man. Y'all get a condo together or something, man. Just have some fun out of it. But that's really the heartbeat behind M-Wave is we want to build lasting friendships and relationships, not only with each other, but also even with these vendors. The cool thing is these vendors are normal people. They're passionate people about home theater and music and movies, and they have stories, and they have, like Jeff, he'll go out to eat with a group of people, man, and just hang out, and he wants to do a movie night, during M-Wave. And so those are the types of things that just, I think, really add to the experience, is being able to build those friendships and relationships. So definitely hope you guys will consider joining us at M-Wave 2024. It's going to be hype. And then Ryan's going to be sweating. And
my theater is probably going to keep me occupied.
That's what I'm worried about. So you're gonna get buried in that. So all right. Let's see who we got. I saw a couple other super chats. Kevin, appreciate the $2 super chat. Any differences between the LS 1100 and the LS? Is it 12,000?
It's the 11,000 and the 12,000.
Yeah. So 11,000 and 12,000. What's the major differences there, Ryan?
Contrast is the big one, and the 12,000 comes with a mount. The 11,000 I don't believe does. Okay. In all honesty, the 12,000 is the one you should be buying. It's worth it. Find yourself a dealer, get a 12,000, and don't look back.
Yeah. Now you're a dealer for Epson, I believe, right?
Maybe.
So
maybe. If I were, I would recommend the LS 12,000.
Yeah. So if you need anything, reach out to Ryan, man. He'll hook you up. He'll take care of you. Oh, I had a good I sent Ryan a text. I think it was today, right?
It's like an hour ago.
Yes, this was earlier. Somebody said that they were just super happy. Oh, he said, I purchased, because I posted on my YouTube channel. I said, hey, here's a link to the video. Let me know if you've heard this system, the Martin Logan Motion XT, or if you even own it. And one of the guys, Matthew Slate, says, I purchased all Motion XT series speakers in a 7.2.4 configuration from Ryan. Could not be happier.
You always say the speaker configuration the same way. You have the same tonality, like 7 point blah blah blah. It's like always in that swinging.
It's a flow, baby. Yes. It's a flow. I didn't realize that. I have to go back and watch the video now. I'm like, how do I say that?
Now every time you say it, you're gonna be self-conscious.
Yeah, I know. It's like, is that right? Is it wrong? So yeah.
But Kevin, 12,000. It's a good projector.
We've had that. Again, speaking of M-Wave, we had that projector at M-Wave 2022
and 23,
as well as 2023. We had it the very first year that it came out. And I still to this day remember one of the gentlemen, after we were doing side-by-side comparisons.
We'll do it again
this year. 150-inch screens. We had the Epson LS12000, and next to it, I don't remember the brand or the model, but it was being compared to a projector that was much more expensive. And after the demo, because we don't tell you what you're looking at first, we go through some content, we go through some dark scenes, some bright scenes, and stuff with motion, just a really wide variety. And then we have a conversation afterward, like, okay, what did you see? Well, this one over here had better blacks, or this one over here, I like the colors better, or whatever. I saw more contrast or detail. So afterward, we said, okay, over here's the Epson LS12000. Over here was either a Sony or one of the new JVC projectors. And a gentleman walked up to me, sat down on the floor next to me, and he said, Michael, I got everything I need out of this show. Even if I don't get anything else, this is what I came for. Because I've been looking at the Epson, but I didn't know if it was going to be good enough. And he said, I'm looking at this image over here, and I'm looking at this one over here. And yes, this one over here does look better. It has definitely better black levels, but it's also X amount of, more expensive, a lot more expensive. And he said, I love the way this looks. The Epson looks gorgeous. And you've got it on a 150-inch screen, and I'm going to have a smaller screen, like 130 or 120. He said, so it's going to be even brighter. And so he was just tickled pink, man. So that was super cool just to get that feedback from somebody that is looking in a blind comparison going, that thing's awesome. It's gorgeous. And he went out and bought it after the show. So definitely a great projector. We've seen it, like I said, for 2 years in a row.
Derek, he was in chat.
Oh, really?
He's the latest response.
Let me see. Let me slide down here. Oh, dude, Derek, good to see you, dude. So see, Derek bought the LS12000. I love sharing that story, man. That was just that was awesome to me because that represents what we're trying to do with M-Wave. Give you as a consumer the options to see, to hear, to experience things in some comparisons that you're just not going to see and experience anywhere else. And so that was super cool. So you're still enjoying it, man. That's awesome. I love it, man. Super, super fun, man. I think I saw one more super chat, if I'm correct. Let me uncheck this one, uncheck that. Yeah, I saw one more. Here we go. JR. Hey, JR, appreciate the $5 super chat. In non-dedicated home theater room, what kind of acoustic treatment goes on the front wall and which goes on the back wall? Very cool question, man. So you're probably more, I know what I would say. I'm going to see what you say and see if it lines up.
Diffusion on the back, absorption on the front.
Yeah.
But it depends. It's not going to be the same in every room. And it's dependent on the room itself, what speakers you're using, dispersion characteristics, all different kinds of stuff, materials, what the room is made of, what's in the room. That's generally how it goes, is diffusion on the back wall, absorption around the front to treat first reflection points. But there's no like set way to do this. If you asked 5 different acousticians, you're going to get 5 different answers.
Yeah. So I know, in talking with like Matthew Pose, ideally, like in my setup, I know that I need to, and I want to deaden everything basically behind my cabinet up to my speakers, because there's no need for anything acoustically in there. You don't need any reflection. And right now I've got acoustic panels in there, but it's not dead in there. I mean, I can clap in there and it echoes pretty good because the ceiling's untreated inside the cabinet. So eventually I would love to be able to just like fill that in with some, almost like a baffle wall, I guess is what they call it. And what I didn't realize, Matthew was telling me, if I did that, I would actually get, I think he said you get more output. Not that I need more output, but it just allows the system to play easier, cleaner. And then there's some other acoustic benefits from that. So, and one day I'd love to be able to do that. Like the hard thing is if I ever need to get to the speakers or subwoofer controls or whatever, then that's going to make that a lot more challenging because those speakers are pretty heavy. So, but ideally, a lot of people will, and I'm just talking about like where the speakers are at on your sidewalls, like up front. Like Ryan said, I chose to use absorption at my first reflection point, and then most of my other panels, I think actually all of my other panels are kind of combo panels. They're absorption and diffusion, but I don't even have any true diffusion, like just diffusion panels in my room. But a lot of guys will put those on the back wall to disperse that sound. So let's see. Vicky, appreciate the $2 super chat. Smallest space in feet for a 7.1.4 Dolby Atmos system.
Man.
Did I say it the same way, or did I change it up that time?
You changed it.
Good.
You changed it.
I don't know what I did. I'll have to go back.
What would I do for 7.1.4?
7 is yeah.
I think it would be more about the smallest that I would ever do a room instead of what I would be the smallest you would do 7.1.4.
Okay. So what's the smallest room you would ever do? I know the smallest room I've ever experienced, and it was still a really cool experience.
The bedroom one?
About 12 by 12. Not ideally acoustic wise, but it's what he had to work with. And it was a cool system. Really cool.
Yeah. It'd be close to that. I'd like to do.
I mean, that's a small room.
I think the smallest I'd like to do would be like 15 by 12. Something like that. A little bit longer than that, because that helps you. You get away from the square, right? 12 gives you enough width to not worry about, even if it's a TV or something, to have the speakers blocking the screen. It's long enough that you can get the row off of the rear wall. That's a decent distance.
Yeah.
And you could very easily do 7.1.4. I think. That's what I would do.
Yeah, my room is 13 wide, 19 deep, and I have a 7.2.4.
Yeah.
my front wall is about 4 feet deep. But now that I think about it, my speakers are back there, so I would still need that bigger room. It'd be hard to put those speakers
I think
inside that.
anything smaller than that, and I would do a 5-1-2.
Yeah. So I don't. Yeah. Like I said, I think I can barely get away with a 7. So in my setup, like I don't think I would really benefit from a 9. Adding 2 front wides. I don't even know where they would go unless
I love my wides too much,
I
front
think
and rear.
I think the only way I could get away with that is if I did another set of the 110s, because I could mount them on the wall. They'd be out of the way. That'd probably be the
Yeah,
only way I could get away with that.
yeah. You have to do on walls or in walls to be able to do it. Really, you have to do
In my
on
space.
walls
Yeah.
because the wides need to be angled. Like if
Yeah.
you're firing them straight in the room, you're doing it
Oh,
wrong.
no.
So you need to
Yeah.
do a
And the 110's already angled. They got a 45-degree
yeah,
angle built in.
yeah.
I think
That they do. That
that
they
would
do.
be
It's
ideal for
nice
my
to see that more manufacturers are doing that. Ascendo
Mhm.
has the wedge series.
Yep.
I wish more manufacturers would do it and get away from those like what are they, dipole and bipole speakers.
Mhm.
I wish they would get away from those and just do wedges.
Yeah. Well,
They're so much more flexible.
that was a big thing back when, home theater first started,
They
using the wide dispersion for your surrounds,
yeah,
back surrounds.
they still are. I mean, Martin Logan makes a lot of companies make them. I
Yeah.
think SVS has some, Martin Logan has them, Klipsch has them.
Yeah.
Tons of manufacturers have them.
Mhm.
They're just
Yeah.
not ideal. Now, in certain situations, they do help because when they get really close to you, you broaden that dispersion so it's not like
Yeah.
piping into you,
Sure.
and so you
Yep.
don't localize where that speaker is. I do like them for those applications, but guys, vendors, do the
Hook us up.
wedge. I don't
Do the wedgie.
no. That's not what I said. That's not what I
That's gonna
said.
be a t-shirt anyway.
Uh,
I recommend the wedgie.
good question though.
I like it, man.
And guys, for you that are repeating the question, we will get to you. We're
Yep.
just first in, first out is how this goes.
Yep.
And if
And
you
then we
super
hit the
chat,
super chat.
Lionamic, he's asked a question actually.
Okay.
So that's
Let
why
me
he's
put that
dropping the
one up.
super chat.
Oh, here it is. It's right above it. Perfect. So do you guys recommend running with Odyssey on or off? Is this it depends kind of answer? Great question. So I think it's partially an it depends question.
Well, Michael, what do you do?
Well, here's the thing. I run Odyssey and I leave Odyssey on, but then I tweak Odyssey. I don't really go into the PEQ or anything like that. I don't go super deep. I usually check the crossovers because sometimes Odyssey gets it really wrong. Like when I had the Eclipse La Scalas, it would set them at 40 hertz. There is no stinking way that they can play with any authority in the 40 hertz range. None whatsoever. So I always had to increase that. And it's probably best if you even measure it to figure out how, like, what frequency is best. But I like Odyssey on in my room. But then you got people like Jonathan and Ryan, they would rather do a manual calibration. So they'll typically, I think Jonathan will run Odyssey to get like his levels
Distances.
and his distances, but then he turns it off because it keeps that, but then it just removes any EQing that it does in his room. And Ryan's pretty similar to that as well. They don't really care for a lot of the auto calibration, whether it's Dirac or Room Perfect or whatever. So I think it is it depends. The cool thing is you can try it both ways. Try it with Odyssey, try it without Odyssey, do some content, see what sounds best in your room.
It can be a little bit subjective to do though.
It can, but if you've got like one of the newer Denon or Marantz, they have the 2 presets, which makes it a
That's
lot
true.
easier to be able to turn that on
That
and
is
off.
true.
So you don't have to go into the menu and change some settings.
What
So that would be one way to do that.
what I encourage people to do though is that if you're going to do these comparisons, if you're going to do any comparison, make sure you go into those comparisons to do them as objectively as possible. And go in with an open mind and go in with an objective mindset and go in questioning things, right? Because you don't want to just take things at face value. You want to question everything
Yeah.
and verify. So when you're doing these comparisons, it's very important to be able to switch back and forth between on and off, as an example of Odyssey being on and off quickly. Otherwise, you will forget what they sound like. So doing these in an objective way is just going to give you a more founded and well-based answer than turning it on, running it, changing the configuration, playing it again 15 minutes later, and then trying to remember what it heard like before.
Yeah,
That's
it's
just
hard.
going to lead you to a subjective, biased answer that you may think is right, but if you're not able to do it objectively and put them right next to each other, you're not putting yourself in a position to have the best circumstances to figure out what is truly the best for you.
Drew, appreciate the $10 super chat, man. Love and support. You're awesome, my brother. I don't think he had a question, but just if you don't mind, Ryan, just check and see. I didn't see one. Hulk Thing, appreciate the $5 super chat. Says, hello, when D-Box stopped making chairs for home theater, they will also stop making movies that connects to the future, to the system in the future. Honestly, I don't know if they will. And here's the reason. D-Box hasn't given us any like notice that they're discontinuing D-Box in the commercial world. And so if they're going to need it for those. So I don't see them stopping that service. Oh, he's talking, interesting. Or are you talking about in the residential? So maybe somebody that has a D-Box.
Yeah, but I thought I read
okay. I see what he's saying.
I thought I read in the announcement that they weren't going to stop that.
Let me look at that PDF and let me see if it says anything about that. I broke it. These are talking about like stuff that breaks. That's for support and repairs. Okay, so yes. So question number 7 says, will D-Box continue to release new haptic codes for movies and TV series? And they said, yes, D-Box will continue to release new haptic content.
Yep.
So I guess they're just not making new chairs. Hey, babe.
She just went to see this.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Just want to make sure they didn't say anything else. No. I have to return. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that was really the only thing that they mentioned there. So yeah. So the good news is apparently they're gonna, because again, they've got to continue to build that library for the commercial. They're just not making any more chairs for the residential. Yeah, Tony says at least for 7 years. So we'll see. Good question, my brother. All right, let me scroll back up to the top. Hey, everyone. So sad to hear about D-Box. I agree.
It is. Yeah. Anytime anybody leaves the market.
Yeah. Oh, at first, I didn't know what I was like. John says, how do we get our refunds if you both die on the ski slopes?
No refunds.
Hey, the show must go on. Y'all need to just come together as a community, make this thing happen. It ain't about me. It ain't about Ryan. Maybe
Yes,
we need
it
to
is.
put Jonathan in the wheel or something. Like, let him take
No,
it.
it's not.
We're not going to die, man. I don't jump ski
Don't
ramps.
say that.
No, I'm dead serious. I'm not going to die. I had a
last photo of Michael. He's going to be turning around. It's just going to be a picture of me, and you're just going to hear him in the live photo going, "What are you doing?" And then that's going to be it.
So, yeah, honestly, I don't even know where in the world I'd find it, but I legitimately jumped a ski ramp. This has probably been 4 or 5 years ago. Last day, Jessica and I were there. She's like, I'm done. Why don't you go hit the train park? I know you've been wanting to hit it. So I said, cool. So I went out there, I had my new GoPro, and I went down I got up there, I turned it on. I'm like, this is going to be fun. So I kind of went easy on the first ramp. That was cool. Got a little bit of air. Hit the next one a little harder. Got a little bit more air. I'm like, this is nice. I went back up the lift, got to the top, put it on, hit record. I said, all right, Lord, protect. And I remember saying that. I said, all right, Lord, protect me. And I said, go big or go home. Well, dude, I hit that ramp. I launched it, went overshot the ramp, missed the downside. And when I did, it just went straight in and knifed. And dude, I hit, the board spun around, my body spun around. I hit butt, then my back, and the last thing that hit was my head. And that's the last thing I remember. And it knocked my butt out cracked my helmet in half. So I don't do jumps anymore, man. I'm too old. I start breaking. I don't bounce anymore. So no, we're not gonna die. We're gonna have some fun. We got videos to make. We got M-Way to do. We got families to come back to. Yeah. Now, do your kids do they ski?
My daughter skis, and my
Okay.
son and wife snowboard.
Okay. But I mean, like they're proficient, I guess. Like they can do it. Or
Oh, yeah.
do they? Yeah.
My daughter, the kids should both still be in ski school. I mean, really, we should all be in ski school. I always think I have stuff to learn.
Yeah.
But my daughter can like go down blues and stuff
cool.
if she's
Yeah.
following me.
Yeah. Jessica, she'll stick to blue. She don't do the black. I'll do a double black. I don't care.
Oh, we're gonna have fun.
Yeah. And what I don't like trees. I don't like the woods, and I don't like moguls on a snowboard. That's
so then how the heck do you do a double black?
They're steep enough. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess it depends on the park.
Yeah. In Colorado, Breckenridge, they've got double blacks.
I know, but usually they're all moguls.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. Yeah. I don't like moguls. They beat me
I
up.
love me some
Bono tree. Yeah.
some bumps.
Like I said, on snowboard, it's so.
Oh yeah, I got a new set of bump skis though. I'm excited.
Yikes. Michael says, Ryan or Michael, have you experienced the Storm Audio ISR Fusion 20? What do you think since it apart? Oh, what sets it apart from a Denon A1H price wise?
So I've actually got an ISR Fusion 20 upstairs for a customer.
Nice.
That I have to deploy. The biggest difference here is the customizability that you have with the Storm. You have full control over the PEQ on the Storm. So I can't really do full manual EQ on a Denon or Marantz. I don't have the ability to do that. Now I can do some stuff in like the multi EQX app and some different things, but I can do some PEQs, but I've got limited controllability of things. But on the Storm, I have full control. I want to say down to 6 hertz, I think. So from 20K down to 6K, I have full control and can assign 16 filters per channel is what it is on the ISP. I don't know if the ISR is the same, but that's why I love it, right? That's what sets it apart. Now, how much that is worth is different to every person because it comes down to how much are you willing to pay to chase the rabbit and how far are you willing to chase the rabbit. And the longer you chase it, the more expensive it gets. So those are the things that you have to consider. For me, I bought my first Storm as an end user before I was a dealer, and I would absolutely do it again because of everything that it offers. I've gotten Storm XT, which is the like ambiance. I don't even know what to call it, but they pump out the ambient parts of the track to unused speakers. So every speaker is active at all times. They gave me DTSX Pro for free before anyone else had it, like a couple years before anybody else had it. The Aura 3D update was free. The Dirac art, that update wasn't. Did the IS? No. The previous ones that didn't have art, you had to pay an upgrade to it. But all of the new ISPs, you get art for free. So you get expert bass, direct live bass control, art, everything is included. And I'm pretty sure it's included in the ISR as well. What else is a big thing that sets it apart? The customer service, which is a big part of buying from a boutique brand like Storm or Trinov. It's just a different level of customer service, right? So your dealers should be taking care of you when you do stuff like that. Like for me, whenever I deploy a Storm, I do an on-site calibration included in the price. That's just how I do it, no matter where you are in the country. Trying to think what else really sets them apart. How I had mine configured is I rolled all of my butt kickers and stuff and my 12-inch built-in subs that were in the couch as a zone 2 and duplicated the audio to zone 1 and zone 2. It can independently control the volumes on the fly for my tactile versus my main theater. So I had full control over that. It's just it's a different level of everything. Yeah, the A1H is awesome. It's great. But if you want the next inevitable step with something that you're going to be able to have virtually forever and then upgrade and do what have you down the road, Storm all day, every day. So that's my thoughts. Oh, last difference is the Storm is using Class D amps and the A1H is Class AB.
Okay. Storm has double the taps.
They do. For
Cool.
calibration, configuration, auto EQ, all that kind of stuff. So they're able to be more granular than what Denon and Marantz can do.
So I'm assuming this is the same double the processing of the filters. Is that the...
Yes. It goes into the same topic.
Okay. JR's got a question about acoustic panels. Wood slat acoustic panels good or just decorative? So I'm assuming, are you talking about like the only thing I can think of, like mine, I would almost consider wood slats just because it's a 4-inch absorptive.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, it has like, not really wood slats, but it's a kind of like a wooden baffle with holes in it, like cutouts. So some sound transfers inside and gets blocked. Some sound reflects. So it's called I call it a combo panel. Is that what you're referring to, JR? Or give us like a brand, maybe. I know you can't post a link to anything in the chat, but let us know like maybe a brand. If you're talking here, I'll pull it while you're doing that. I'll pull this up. GIK acoustics. Something like, yeah. So like this room here, this is what I would think that you're referring to, maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong. Present, share, something kind of like this. So this is what.
That's usually what I think of.
Yeah. So let me know if you're talking about something different than this. I'm looking in the chat. So as far as, is that just decorative? It's partial decorative, but yes, it's actually a diffuser. Now it's not, I guess, what they call a true diffusion where you've got different depths and, and that's.
It is. It's a different type of panel.
But I'm saying, like,
give you a different result.
Yeah. When I think of a true diffusion panel, I'm thinking of something more along the lines of something like this. This would give you a lot of diffusion because it's going to scatter that sound in a bunch of different directions. So they're different depths, different spacing. So you can see a lot of different ones here. Something like this.
I guess what I meant is they're all meant to do different things.
Correct. Yeah.
That is what most people will think of when they think of a diffuser, but they're all meant to tackle different things.
So yeah, so JR saying, yeah, kind of like that. So they're going to, if it's a flat surface, it's going to reflect. If it's a soft surface, it's going to absorb, depending on the thickness of that absorption, depends on how much it's going to, like what frequencies it can absorb. But yeah, so as far as like, is it just acoustic? I think it's a combination of acoustic properties, but also decorative, because some people don't want just big square black ones like I've got right back here. They want something that looks kind of cool in their room and add some decor. So they're trying to use.
Aesthetic is important, people. Even for us audio snobs, your room's got to look good, because if you don't enjoy going in there, you're not going to use it as much.
For sure. All right. Brian says, looking to upgrade. What is better? What's a better AVR? The 8015 from Marantz or the AZ7000 ES from Sony?
So Matthew Pose just did a review measurement on the Sony. He actually really liked it until he blew it up. And he didn't. Blowing it up wasn't a bad thing. He was pushing it way too hard. So it was expected that it blew up. He even said that in the video. It wasn't like bad that it happened. It was just like that was kind of expected to how all of that went down.
So he smoked the Sony.
He did. He did smoke it.
Okay.
Now, which is better?
I'll be honest. I've only had the experience with the 8015, so I can't compare the two. I can just tell you, I really like the 8015. It's a beast of an AVR. It was powering at one point. I was using it to power an entire 7.1.4 system. So it's got a lot of juice in it. Now I was running efficient speakers, so that helps.
Why the 8015 though? Isn't that discontinued?
It's an older receiver. I mean, he may be buying it used,
or maybe that's what he already has, and he's wondering if he should upgrade.
Yeah,
Brian,
possibly.
you got any more insight on that? I want to know if this is like something you already got, you buying it used.
Give us some context, Brian.
Let us know. The Sony's supposed to be really good. I mean, it's
a lot of people
measured really well. It's supposed to be good. It just hasn't gotten a lot of press. I've heard them, but every application that I've heard them in, it's been in like an untreated hotel room. So I can't really pass judgment on it. Yeah. It's got dual center channel features and some other stuff that no other AVR has. So it's cool. They came out with their own proprietary rooming queue software. Now, how well that does, I have no idea, but Matt Pose liked it.
Yeah. Okay. Tony said, I hear Sark has some D-Box chairs for sale. That's funny, Tony. I like that. Nicholas, can I get you guys honest opinion? We don't do honest opinions here. I'm just going to throw that out.
I lie about everything.
We don't. Yes, of course you get honest opinions. Ascendo, passive 18, JTR, RS1.
Oh, man.
Performance and value for the money. So I'm not as familiar with Ascendo's line. You are. I've got the RS2s. Love them. I don't even know what an Ascendo passive 18 retail is.
More than the RS1.
Okay, so they're more expensive. 18-inch driver. So you got two sealed. Is it sealed or ported?
They're both ported or both sealed. Sorry.
Okay, so you got two.
There
sealed.
is a vented. Ascendo does make a vented version of the 18, but they have a sealed version too.
Okay. Be similar to
the design philosophy behind these subs is very different.
Okay.
So Ascendo's design philosophy centers around infrasonic. It centers around the idea that you're going to potentially have the 18s or 21s doing higher frequency and then having the infrasonics do the low frequency. So the 18s and the 21s are not going to have the same oomph as the RS1s are. They're going to do it in a different way. So in this comparison, if you're buying one sub and not doing infra, RS1 all day.
Yeah, I think MW agrees with you. He says the 18 passive is a kick sub. It won't do really 30 hertz under very well.
It's a different design philosophy, and they understand that. If you want to just have one sub, RS1.
Okay. So that's why they've come out with a bunch of different sizes. I mean, they've got the 18, they've got the 21, they've got the 32, they got a 50.
12, 15, 16, 18, 21, 24, 32, and 50, and 80. But they're all for different applications, right? They're all designed to do different things. Like in my theater, I'm going to have 3 different size subwoofers.
Yeah.
The 21s are my kicks, and the 32s and the 50 are my infras.
Makes sense.
Just a different idea.
You're going to have a crazy setup, dude. I cannot wait to experience it.
I hope it doesn't suck.
I hope it doesn't suck too, because I'm gonna make a video on it.
Yeah, but you know, like when you're building something in the back of your head, you're like, I'm spending all of this money. I really hope that this is worth it. Like, is it just am I gonna hear it for the first time, be like, crap, like I should have just stayed with what I got? Or am I just gonna have this big crap eating grin on my face whenever it goes off? So that's a worry. So I tell people, like, I'm worried it's gonna suck, or I hope it doesn't suck. And that's it's not me joking. I mean, it halfway is, but it's
Yeah.
partly I'm worried because you just have that intrinsical in the back of your head gnawing feeling of, man, is it worth it?
Yeah.
So
Tony's got a good point. Only you'll notice the flaws.
yeah, but yeah, I guess. I'm trying to build it though, so I have as few flaws as possible.
Right. Well, I think so part of why I'm very confident that it's not going to suck is number one, you have been doing this. You've surrounded yourself with people that know what they're doing. So you've got just knowledge, you've got community, but you've also partnered with some people that really know their stuff too. Officina Acustica. I mean, you're building the room right first. So that's going to help no matter what speaker system you put in there.
Yeah.
You know, you aren't just going, let me do what I think. You're trying to do it what's based on measurements and data. So it ain't gonna suck. There's no way. But it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Michael, appreciate the $20 super chat, man. Thank you so much for the love. He says, thanks for answering my question. Y'all are the best, my favorite channel on YouTube. That means the world to me. It really, really does. We appreciate your love and support. Appreciate just the camaraderie, the fun that we have here on the channel. And hopefully we're providing value to you guys, helping you out, getting you excited about home theater, answering your questions, and just having some fun in the process, man. So
what I think sets us apart, and this is important, and this goes for M-Wave and for this channel when we're doing these discussions, is this isn't about necessarily the product. It's not about what's being the physical thing that's being sold. It's about the non-tangibles, right? The things that go with that, the relationships you build, the experiences you have at the end of the day, the memories that you're going to make. Those are the things that I think are the most important to focus on, because when you focus on the tangibles, there's always going to be something like, oh, well, I could have gotten this, or I could have done this, or I could have done whatever. But when you focus on the relationships, the experiences, and the intangible things that you can get with those, no matter what level of tangible thing you're getting them on, you're going to remember them and you're going to be able to look back on those things. So that's something that Michael and I have really tried to focus on. And I think that's been a big part of what set us apart. And that's what I want you guys to all focus on M-Wave about, is M-Wave isn't really about all of these other shows or like all of the other shows, because we don't focus on just saying, hey, you get to hear this and you get to hear this. Yes, you do, but it's the people you surround yourself with and the relationships you build while you're there that make it a truly enjoyable and special time. So that's what I really want you guys to focus on with this. And I think Michael and I really put that on a pedestal because it's what brought us together, right?
Yeah,
it's
for sure
the relationships, the experiences, and we want to share that with all of you guys.
Yeah. And like I said, there's plenty of guys in the comments here. Ike, Easy HC Tech just popped in. I've had a chance to get to know him over the years. He's been to our show. What's that?
Is spooning still on the list? I mean, I'm down. But I played collegiate
hung
sports.
up on that spooning stuff, man.
I played collegiate sports where everybody was like, hey, how uncomfortable can I make you be? And it got to the point where nobody was uncomfortable at all because or didn't show that they were. So it was, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, but I've had a chance to meet Ike. I've had a chance to meet Tony, SOWK. Lots of you guys in the chat. We've met personally, either online or at a trade show or at M-Wave. I've done home theater tours. So, to me, that's really, really where, that's just my heartbeat, man. Like, I truly value my community. People, it's funny when people they'll leave a comment on a really old video. We're talking a 5-year-old video. I've been doing content on home theater for 6 years. And somebody will make a comment on a really old video and they'll always say this. They'll like, I know you'll never see this, but I just wanted to say this, or I wanted to ask this. And it's those I like normally comment on because I want them to know I care. Even on an old stinking video that's lighting and audio is probably horrendous. But anyway,
Isn't it funny
But
looking back on those old videos? And you're
no,
like,
it's
man, I thought I was
terrible.
awesome. And you
No,
look
I
at them and you're
never
like,
thought
oh,
I still don't think I'm awesome. I'm just trying to share my love and passion and really build
I
a
meant like you thought
community.
your camera and your lighting was great. And then you
No,
look
I
back at it
didn't.
and you're like, this is heinous.
No, I never thought that for a long time. My lighting's a lot better. But
Your
then I look
lighting's
at
pretty good.
people like Brad, Home Theater Gamer. I mean,
Yeah,
his
but he's
lighting
the
is spot
cinematographer.
on. I
He's a
know.
cinematographer.
And he color grades every video. So I'm like, golly, dude. So I'm
I like
jealous
this
of
comment. I like my bass dry, like British humor dry. Yes.
I love it,
I don't
dude.
like dry bass.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. But we're gonna have some fun, man. Gonna have fun here. Gonna have fun at M-Wave. Ariel, in regards to, and I've met Ariel as well. In regards to MadVR or Lumagen, my understanding is that the video processing is all handled by those units, and the only thing that is using by the projector is the light source, like Epson. So I think what he's saying is like if he's using MadVR or Lumagen, would you go with the LS12000 or an
I think what he's
NZ9?
saying, he's confirming that the processing's being done by the video processor, and all the
Correct.
display is doing is getting light from point A to point B.
For the most part, right? Because
Yes.
you're turning off that processing because you don't want it double processing on there.
No. So yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't mean that every projector or display becomes equal at that point, because that's not true. You
Correct.
still have physical characteristics and limitations in those displays. Like LS12000 versus NZ9, the LS12000 loses in both native and on-off contrast or ANSI contrast. So the NZ9's just a better display, but
Yeah.
it is 6 times the price or 5 times the price now.
Yeah,
So
sure.
like we talked about with chasing the rabbit, how much are you willing to spend to get there?
Mhm.
To me, having seen and had the NZ9, it's hard to go back. Hard to go back.
Love this comment. 304 Carpenter met a cool cat today. He's trying to make it to M-Wave. I said the same thing to him. It's all about relationships, sharing the passion, and just having great experiences with those you meet.
I am imagining
Absolutely.
Chris sitting there having a conversation with an actual cat. Chris, that was just not because of anything at all. I'm just imagining you in your house talking very seriously to a cat.
Yeah,
And he's
that's
listening,
funny.
nodding his head.
He's gonna bring.
Like, yes, I will go to M-Wave. But that's
Are we
great, Chris.
are we expecting
That's
the
fantastic.
new? I thought he meant like I thought the question was, are we bringing the NZ9 to M-Wave this year? He's saying, are we expecting a new NZ9?
I don't
They're
actually
probably
don't know.
not.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
they're probably not up for this year.
Usually, if
Thinking
JVC does something, it's usually in the fall.
I'm thinking if they do anything, it's just a guess. I would think like because they do what about every 3 years, right?
This is 3 years.
So it's probably not coming out this year. Possibly might see something next year, but I don't think we're gonna
It's
see
usually
anything.
every 3 years, and this is 3 years.
Okay.
So
So then maybe next
I
year we
don't
might.
know. I have no idea.
Okay. I'm excited.
It's about time that I need to reach out to my JVC contacts and see.
Hey, you got some info? So, but as soon as we hear anything, we'll let you guys know if we're allowed to. So, I'm not under an NDA right now, so I don't know any information. I haven't
I
heard
don't either.
anything. So, but sometimes when they let us know, yeah, see, Salk says maybe Cedia, so that would be next year. So, no, this
This
year.
year. You
Yeah,
keep
that's
thinking it's
I'm thinking
23.
I'm serious, man. This is crazy. That's right. It's a brand new stinking year.
No, they came out in 21. It's 24. It's year 3.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, all right. So y'all got me excited now. There might be. All right.
Maybe.
Okay. Very cool. But like I said, if I hear anything, if I'm able to tell you guys, I will.
Guys, we legitimately don't know. Like, I really don't know.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I haven't heard it from any company. But again, most of these companies, like even SVS, so I'm sitting there talking to Gary Wakovian, and I'm like, hey Gary, I'd really like to see some new subwoofers from you guys. A lot of people have been asking about it. He's like, well, we may or may not have something in the works. So that's literally about as much information as we ever get from most brands. Sometimes they'll send dealers information a little bit early. Sometimes they'll send content creators stuff early, but typically we have to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, that says, hey, until the embargo date, you can't say anything. And that's why you'll see sometimes when you'll see on YouTube certain products, like seems like 4 content creators post a video literally the same day, hour. Well, it's because that was an embargo date.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have got some information, or we might have got a product in advance, couldn't tell anybody. Then we review it, and then they say, okay, on February 20th at 9 a.m. Eastern time, you can talk about it, share about it, whatever. So then that video, goes live.
So I just saw a question, or not a question, a statement. Grave Danger says, I'd like to see a Gimi Horizon Ultra projector, which I think is more along the lines of like ultra short throws. Yeah. What is your feeling of ultra short throws with all of the big boy TCL TVs coming? You guys talked about this not too long ago.
Yeah, I shared that in a video. My biggest thought so I don't think projectors are going anywhere, especially with the home theater enthusiast. To the average person, yeah, they're not buying a projector anyway, so I'm not really concerned about them. I'm kind of looking at people that have projectors now in a room. Are they going to switch over to 100, 110, 120, 150, whatever TVs that come out? I don't see that happening for at least a long time until they get up to 150. There is no way in the world I'd be willing to replace my projector.
Now you're talking about ultra short or standard throws. I'm talking about ultra short throws.
Correct, but I wanted to set that picture. So that I don't think is going anywhere. Where I do see a potential kind of shakeup is in that ultra short throw market, because the whole point of an ultra short throw originally was big TVs are crazy expensive, $20, $30, $40, $50,000 to get a big TV.
And they still are, for the most part, to get a good one.
Yeah, but they're becoming affordable, even if they're budget. They're not the best TVs in the world. So the problem, or where their market and their niche was, and even on I bet if we went to the Hisense page right now of their ultra short throw, it probably calls it a TV. Like they're calling it a laser TV. That was their marketing. It's not really a TV, but it's being marketed as a TV because that's their target audience. They're trying to get bigger displays into the residential home in a living room setup. So pairing that with an ultra short throw or an ambient light rejection screen gets you a pretty good image. The problem is now we do have 100-inch TVs that are affordable. We have
115s.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying we have 100. Now we're getting 115, and I think there's some 120s on the horizon. We just don't know how much that 115 is yet.
TV.
Yeah. So I think they could easily replace, because they're going to have so much better picture quality than an ultra short throw. Most ultra short throws that I've watched or that I've reviewed, they're okay. There's only 2 that I've been like, that's a cool image. Like I really like that image. There was one from LG and one from Hisense. That's it. Now
the Hisense one that did a partnership with Barco.
I haven't reviewed that one yet.
You haven't done that one?
No, this was the L9G from Hisense. Beautiful. And then there was it's a real long, it's like something 85HU from LG.
That's a good one. And Epson's is good. The problem that I have with a lot of these entry-level TVs, though, is the backlight zones and the bleeding is awful. And I just cannot, in dark scenes, I cannot look past it. Like it's a personal problem. I just can't look past that. It doesn't happen. So I can't do that. Now,
and I'm not a videophile. So to me, I mean, like I've got a budget Hisense in my living room and it does fine for what we use it for.
Yeah. But would you want to put that in your, to trade that for your JVC?
Zero.
I mean, take out the odd. I'm just talking video quality. Yeah, it's not the same. So I've been spoiled on actual panel TVs with OLEDs. There's no way I can go back. No way. Now, if you've been on LED and LCD, and this is maybe elitist of me, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
it
Jonathan
is.
and I have talked about this before. You get
Yeah.
spoiled with one thing, and once you're used to it, it's difficult to go back,
Yeah,
right?
they're
So,
gorgeous. I mean, when I go to a trade show, they're absolutely gorgeous. You walk by the OLEDs and you're
ugh.
like that's sweet.
I mean,
So,
even
yeah.
a couple of mine are like 65-inch B series, so they're not
Mhm.
like ridiculous TVs. It's just
Yeah.
you get used to full on, full off with none of the
Mhm.
bleeding and all that other stuff, and it's just I can't go back. It doesn't work. My wife will even say like this picture is awful.
It's booty.
Yeah, just not great. Not great.
OLED is buttery smooth. Yeah.
Oh, once you put it next to other things that are actually buttery smooth, it stops being buttery smooth for
So
24p content.
MW says, but backlighting is improving also,
It
especially so
is.
number of zones. TCL has 20,000 zones. So,
It's getting better.
all right. So here's a prediction. Now I may be way wrong because I'm not a TV connoisseur. I'm not up on the latest greatest, but I think Hisense has the potential to really start taking some serious market share in this. So we'll see.
TVs?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. They're trying. They're really, really they're coming in with some really nice TVs, not their budget stuff. Like I said, this one it's an okay TV. It's a big display, 85-inch, the U7H. You
The
know,
big
if
thing that
you're
I'm excited about is they're bringing out 21:9s.
yeah,
It's exciting.
yeah, it's gonna be cool, man. I'm excited for them. I think they have some huge potential, and I think they're really trying to just make a name for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what they have
Mm-hmm.
down the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas, in Australia, the Sendo Passive 18 is the same price as the JTR RS2. Yeah, because it's going to cost you, I guess, because they're closer to them, but JTR is going to kick your butt on the shipping. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I don't know what the pricing is on either of them in Australia, though. So.
Yeah. John says, Ryan, another option for your basement floor is the laid dimple mat and the OSB subfloor on top of it. You can shim the subwoofer to get it level. This also gives you a gap in case there's any moisture.
That is a possibility. Then I would have to put something over the OSB subfloor because I would have all of these gaps.
Mm-hmm.
It's an excellent idea, though, and I have thought about it. The other problem is I have carpet coming right up to it. So if I put OSB like I don't want to have this elevation change, and then how do you deal with that? And so I think the cleanest and easiest way to do it is just to deal with the concrete and go from there. I think.
Okay. Tyler says, when you guys say you run your subs 10 dB hot, does that mean when you do a sweep that they're 85 dB in your system is calibrated to 75? 6 hot would be 81. Can you give some more context on that, Ryan?
You really got to play this by ear and see what makes sense. Jonathan's going to be the best one to be able to speak to this, but you want to make sure that you're measuring them all together and that you're not just doing things individually, because they're all going to be playing at the same time. So yeah, 10 dB hotter. I actually run 15 dB hotter than the rest of the channels for peak output. Now remember, that's for peaks. That's not for, well, I guess it'd be for everything.
It's still going to be everything.
It'd be for everything. Just make sure you're doing the evaluation together and not making every sub 10 dB hotter, because then when you add another one, you're going further than that. So you want to make sure that everything cumulatively is 10 or 15 dB hotter than whatever else you're doing.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's a preference. When I run Odyssey, it's always anemic. I mean, every single time it's like, where did my bass go? And so I always increase it. Usually it's about 6 dB higher than what Odyssey says is balanced. And then when you look at when I had Tony, he's in the chat, he helped me with the mini DSP when I was running that at a house curve. And so I forget how much higher, but basically the bass end was, you could see it's elevated over the rest of the frequency response. and that's because
Well, and really, it should be going like
it's
this.
hard to do this thing
It should
backwards.
keep going up because
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
well, it shouldn't just go like up and then plateau up here.
No,
It
no, no,
should
no. It
keep
was
going and going and going and going and going, because as the bass frequencies get lower and lower and lower and lower, we perceive them quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter, and we need to make them louder in order to have the same perception of volume.
Yeah.
Now, some of that you're not going to be able to do anything about because your subs are going to fall off at some point. They're not going to
so
be able
kind of
to.
like what Ryan's saying. You're not going to see like your bass frequencies here. I'm probably doing this backwards.
No, you're
Bass
going the right way.
frequencies here.
No, other way.
That way. Okay, so
Yeah.
bass frequencies here, and then it drops down, and then your normal. Yeah, don't want that. That would be.
But that's why you have more subs. That's why I'm going to have 11 in the hopes that I can do insane volumes really low. I'm coming for you, Scott.
It's going to be effortless.
Newbie, I'm coming for you.
Effortless.
We're going to see if I can pass you up.
Guinness World Book of Records is going to open up the thing once again so that just for you. JC Reynolds says, I'm tossing around the idea of 3 JTR 215 RTs across the front, replacing legacy audio. Thoughts? I have only heard legacy audio in 2-channel setups. They're pretty high end.
Yes.
Audiophile, beautiful cabinets.
They are.
But I've never heard one in a home theater.
Did you like them in 2-channel though?
I mean, they sound nice, but I mean, I didn't walk away going, holy cow. Like, I don't know. But again, it was just, they're beautiful speakers.
They are. They're really well finished.
So
you're paying for that finish. What would I do? Oh, JTRs.
Tony's got 3 JTRs, 215 RTs in the front. He's got 2 more as
his room is terrible.
Wides. Still, I mean, it's still one of the best home theaters
his room is amazing.
I've ever experienced. I mean, truly, truly phenomenal. So, you know, I'm a fan of JTR for sure.
JTR, no question. In that, I have never heard, and this is subjective. This is very, very subjective. We encourage people to go listen to speakers
100%.
For this reason, because it's subjective.
Yeah.
My subjective opinion is I have never heard a legacy setup that I liked. Now I'm very particular about the speakers that I like. So JTR.
Tony says checks in the mail.
Let me expand on this a little bit more. So we talk about this every once in a while about the importance of having speakers that can do the full dynamic range.
Full bandwidth, yeah.
Why is this important? Well, let's say you have a speaker, I don't know, that has a X tweeter, some type of soft dome tweeter, and you've got a decently sized room, and your seating position is, I don't know, 15 feet away, which isn't that unusual. If you're playing into reference volume, your speaker may barely just be able to get to reference volume. Now, if we start, and that's theoretical, a lot of them won't even be able to do that. Now, add EQ on top of that. So now, instead of just having to hit 105, at certain frequencies, you may be having to hit 109, 110, 111. And your speaker, that's at the main listening position. Your speaker is going to be having to do way over that at 1 meter. If your speaker can't do that, if the tweeter is hitting breakup way before that, you are losing and missing out on the experience that the director and cinematographer intended. So in saying that, in my opinion, it is very important to get speakers that utilize certain technologies that allow you to be able to do that. You may think not a big deal to me right now, but what I have come to realize is that, or you may think not a big deal, that's way too loud. What I have come to realize is that a lot of times people think things are way too loud because they're encountering distortion and that breakup. So we perceive that distortion and breakup as things being potentially too loud because it hurts our ears, and that is our connotation of what we're perceiving. When you get really clean audio, you're able to push way further than you think, and it doesn't hurt. Now, Is it good for your hearing to go way up there? No. But you may find that you do like those louder volumes if you're not encountering those negatives that some other speaker technology is forcing you to get into. So I would encourage people, when looking for speakers, look for things that go potentially beyond what you think you may be utilizing in the room, because it gives you the ability to have headroom. It gives you the ability to go louder in the future if you want to. If you don't and design for the here and now, you have just pigeonholed yourself and, connected yourself to the present instead of thinking about, well, what if something changes in the future?
Okay.
So just food for thought.
So JC Reynolds has the legacy towers. He says his go down to 12 hertz and the towers can get to reference with no issues.
That's good if they can get there. But is that, so here's the next thing is that reference volume with going down to 12 hertz, or is that reference volume without the subs? Because really you want to be looking at like I don't know, like a pink noise at like 200 to 2000 hertz or something like that. Take out the low frequency and see if you can hit X, because if you can hit reference 105 with the low end, you may be reinforcing that reference volume with the subwoofers, and that may not be a accurate representation. But if you can really do it, yeah, it's great.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't have towers like the 215 RTs. They will hit like super low frequencies, and some people use them without subwoofers. But like I've got the 212 HTRs, and I think they measure down about 30 hertz, but then I pass that off to, my subwoofers. They're not full range speakers. You wouldn't want to run those full range.
What legacy speakers were those?
Did
it say?
Oh, let me look here. He just says my leg. JC, let us know what speakers you have. I'm trying to scroll up here. I think it was way earlier. Trying to find the comment. It's not really a search feature on this.
Yeah, JC, what legacies do you have?
Yeah, I don't think he mentioned
Valors.
MW
MW says Kef small sub does 6 hertz. But at what volume?
Yeah, like 30 dB below. Yeah.
They are cool speakers. I love that they use a planar in the middle. So you actually have less to worry about. Let me look at these.
Those are wild speakers too, man. They're huge. I'll pull them up here.
What do you feel like you're missing out on?
Look at those things. They're massive, dude.
Like, why are you wanting to switch? What do you think you're missing?
So spec-wise, so they've got a 14-inch midwoofer, 1.5-inch coaxial, dual 14-inch for the bass, dual 12, dual. Man, how many speakers are in that joker? Holy cow.
You only have 2.
Yeah, so 12 hertz to 30,000 hertz, plus or minus 2 dB. So, man,
yeah, but at what volume will that?
They're super efficient, man. 100 dB. I don't get any impression that these wouldn't hit that.
No, they probably would.
I mean, that's pretty wild.
Buy a third one.
I've just never heard those in, like, typically these are in 2-channel systems. I think they do make some center channels though.
Yeah, but that's a compromise.
I get it, but the vast majority of people they don't have the ability to do.
Yeah, but he's talking about doing 215s, 3 of them. So he's in a position that he can do them. Sure. So what I would do, JC, is if you already got 2 of them, source the third one.
Yeah, so these are powered 2,750 watts. He's got the matching center. Okay. Yeah, he's got the big old boys.
Just get 3 black swans.
I saw that. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess it goes back to Ryan's question. Like, what do you feel that you're missing? It's easy, guys, for us to kind of get the, upgrade-itis. Like there's got to be something bigger, better, badder out there. And there probably is. But if you love it, if it sounds great, typically like the upgrade should be, is there something that's not performing? Maybe you've got a subwoofer. Like for me, for a long time, I had subwoofers that would go down to 20 hertz and they would drop like a rock. I had 4 clips RSW15s, and at 20 hertz, solid output. 19 hertz, 18 hertz, it was like a cliff. I mean, I just lost it.
I would still want to see frequency response plots for these.
Yeah.
And just, I never look at the measurements, or not the measurements, but the specs and be like, yeah, that's exactly what they do. I'd want to see some spinoramas or Clipple data.
He said, I'm just kicking around some ideas. He does have 2 RS2s. So, or at least more than one RS2. He doesn't really specify how many, but.
I mean, you could probably get some good some good money out of your Valors selling them.
JC, let me ask you this. Are you coming to M-Wave? The reason why I suggest that is, or ask that is, he's got 2 RS2s. Is Jeff Permanian is going to be at M-Wave again this year.
I probably have the 212s.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if you can listen to the 212s and go, holy crap, then 215s are going to be okay.
And Ascendo is going to be there.
Yeah. So you're going to get a chance to hear some really cool systems. And if you sit in one of those demos and go, I don't have this at home.
Why did I bring up Ascendo? Why did I thought we were talking about them for some. Oh, somebody brought up Black Swans. That's why my mind went there. Okay.
Yeah.
Never forget that.
Well, but that's.
Yeah, but that came across as marketing thing. And my brain was like, we're talking about them, but it was because we talked about the Black Swans. Sorry about that.
But that's true though. They're going to be, Ascendo will be there. So there's several different brands that you can hear full Dolby Atmos and Dolby Atmos systems. And so now when you said yep, is that answering yes, you're coming to M-Wave, or yep, you have RS2s? I'm just not sure.
He's coming. Cool. I'll talk to Audio Advice.
And we talked to it, Audio Advice. Awesome. So I just think it'd be a great option. Maybe just hold out. It's only a couple more months. Come listen. And if you're like, man, I've got an amazing experience at home, no need to upgrade. Just come and have fun at the event.
But you got to verify it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to sit there and constantly question.
You'll be like, dang it, should I?
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. FOMO.
Yeah. Tiki time. Are there any Class D AVRs? Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some AVRs.
The ISR we were talking about earlier is Class D.
Yeah. So High Modulus, he answered it. Anthem has A, B, and D and same chassis. NAD has 9-channel Class D, Storm Audio Class D. So yeah, so there's definitely some options out there for you. Bruce says, I've got a basic 5.1 system with a big old subwoofer. If the bass is too high, like in the movie Oppenheimer, but the dialogue is too low, how can I adjust for that so I don't disturb my neighbors? He lives in a 1-bedroom apartment with a big old subwoofer. I don't know if you can not disturb a neighbor in an apartment watching Oppenheimer with a big subwoofer, other than turning it off.
Well, what do they have? Dynamic, whatever you might call it, on the Denon and Marantz stuff?
They do, but what dynamic EQ does is it boosts the low frequencies at lower volumes, and once you get to reference, that dynamic EQ is no longer like kicking in. It's no longer.
They also have night modes or whatever they've.
That's different. Yeah, that is. Oh man, I don't even know what.
I don't remember what they're called.
And JC says get headphones. Great Danger says no sub allowed. Yeah, there's really not much. I mean, I remember when Jessica and I first got married, I had a 10-inch Velodyne C100, 10-inch ported design, 100-watt amp, not big, in an apartment. I hear, oh, whatever. I'm not going to bang on the mic, but I hear a knock, knock, knock. Go to the door. Police officer. Like, sir, I had what do they call it? A noise disturbance. So my upstairs neighbor had called the cops on me. You know what we were watching? Operation Dumbo Drop.
I hear that LFE track is amazing.
So if I got the police called in an apartment with a dinky sub, and you've got a big one, and you're watching Oppenheimer. You're
Marky brings up a good point. Base shakers.
right, but the key is he's got this big sub. You cannot use that
No.
in an apartment and not disturb your neighbors.
No.
So here's something I would encourage you
Near
to do.
field. Near field.
Here's something I would encourage you to do. And this may not even be an option, but at least get to know your neighbors. So number one, if you get to know them, you can either find out maybe when they're not going to be home. Maybe they work during the day and you work at night or whatever. So then you can watch it while they're gone, or maybe invite them over and let's do a movie night. Then you can crank it up. So, but yeah, it's hard in an apartment because there's sometimes people above you, people adjacent. So yeah,
Move the sub closer to you and turn it down.
that could be an option. Yeah, the butt kickers definitely can help. I know Nick did that in his apartment. Works out great. Everybody can't hear it, but he can feel it. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'll say Brit. So Brit says, what mic and software do you use to measure in the single digits? Great question.
You mic too?
I don't know how accurate they are. That's the one thing people ask me. They're like, how accurate is it? And a lot of times when I measure with a UMic 1 or UMic 2, you'll see this bump at the end. It's almost constant in everything. So I wonder if that's a limitation of the mic itself.
Omni mic does really well, but you can't buy them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then
They're
like Earthworks and stuff, but they're more expensive.
Yeah.
I think in most people's applications, the UMic 2 is probably fine, but if you're really chasing accuracy into the single digits, you really need to invest in a quality measurement mic.
Yeah.
Not that UMic and stuff is bad, but
just other stuff can do a more accurate job of it. Lion says, do you guys recommend running with, Odyssey? We did this one, right? Yeah, we did that one.
Yep.
Ryan, any pics of your home theater? Probably not much to see right now. Getting closer.
Have we seen all the OSB and stuff?
I think we saw, honestly, I don't know.
Wasn't it freezing? Let me see if I can bring up the pictures and share.
Okay.
Hold on. Photos. I don't remember what everybody's seen and what everybody hasn't seen. So
you gave us a room tour.
Yeah, but then it was like freezing up and stuff, wasn't it? So people may not have seen that.
Yep. I mean, Nicholas, to answer your question, I've got a frequency response. I think I only have one, but mine shows down to 5 hertz, I think. This may not be the one.
There you go. So this is without it freezing up. All of this has been cleaned up. This was just like when we were finishing and finally got all the OSB up. This was immediately after we finished. The tile area back there is going to be where all the absorbers are going to be hanging from the ceiling. And then the 50 will sit here. 21, 21, rear, Griffin, something else that I can't talk about yet. And then smaller ones potentially in a stack above this. And then is it going to let me? So then this is the door entry. So you'll only actually be able to see, this is where the screen wall is going to be right here. So screen wall, that's where that is. Entry, back wall. So the room is only about 15 feet wide, 15 feet deep, 14 feet wide. The officina stuff is going to sit out approximately 7 inches into the room. So that's why you lose width. And then the ceiling is going to have like these clouds hanging. So you won't be able to see most of the ceiling, but we're Duratexing the entire room black. So you won't be able to see anything through the acoustic treatments either. Or the acoustic, like the screen for contrast in the back, acoustically transparent stuff for the absorbers. So then this is the screen wall. So we have these two things jutting into the room. There's a pole here holding up a beam that comes across that holds up the second story. So that's why we just made it identical on both sides. It's not ideal, but it's a compromise that we had to make. This is the ducting that runs from the projector out of the room entry, and there's another entry over here into the electrical panel room. Ceilings are just under 8 feet tall, so couldn't make them any taller than that given the steel beams that run across the ceiling. I couldn't really do anything about those, unfortunately. Another compromise. But I had to have these doorways here. So we have these sandwiches that are over here that are double stacked OSB. And this is what the entire room is made of. It's double stacked 3/4 inch OSB. Each sandwich weighs 160 pounds. They're 4 feet by 8 feet. And it took 8,000 pounds of OSB or plywood to do this room. And then all of the OSB is sitting on 7/8 inch hat channel, and that's all on Risset clips. And then behind all of this is R13, and then in the ceiling is R38 with R13 behind it. Then another picture. So here's a better picture of those sandwiches. And then we've got handles to lift them in and out, and they're going to sit on weather seal to stop them from vibrating. And then this is the electrical room. Ignore all the installations that's back there. That's going to go into a different room. But I had to be able to get back there and do the electrical to be able to route all of that out of the space. And then this is the other side. So this is the under the stairs where I'll be able to come in from the back room. And then this is all the speaker wire that's going to waiting to get routed out so that I can get that all routed into the racks that are going to be out of the space.
You got a dedicated air duct going into the room?
No,
that is?
not right now. I didn't do that because it's either going to work how it is now, or I'm going to run ducted mini splits. And the ducted mini splits are going to sit either back in here and then duct in through, because I'll be able to pipe through this and just run them into the room, because I'm going to have room behind all of the officina walls to be able to do whatever I need to do. So I'm really just trying it now before I need to do it later. And then if I need to do it later, I'll just get some insulated ducting and then route it back there. It's not the end of the world. And then be able to route it like one into the front and then one into the back, and then I'll be done. But I wanted to try it without it first, and then have it set up so that whenever the theater kicks on, it's just going to turn the fans on in the HVAC system, and it'll pump in and pump out. So we'll see how it all works.
I like it, man.
Rolling racks or wall mounted racks, is that a question about the theater? It is. They're rolling racks, but they're going to sit in another area.
Yeah, I saw several questions in here. Let me back up. Someone asked about your finished dimensions.
So the actual room itself, when it's finished, like this whole room, like this space, both where you'll see being in the room itself and the front baffle and the rear absorption areas, if you include all of that, it's 28 feet long, 16 feet wide, and 8 feet tall.
Nice.
If you only include the finished area, it's 15 feet long, 14 feet wide, and 8 feet tall. Now, what am I doing with speakers? What we're going to do with speakers, because I'm limited on height space, is I'm actually going to, once I get the speakers here, because I got to know the exact dimensions, bring the couch in, put it exactly where it needs to go, and then laser everything out, and then we'll cut the OSB and put them in the ceiling and sistering and stuff joists, because the whole second floor is suspended on the metal beams. So I'm not worried about the joists. So we'll be able to sister and manipulate all of those to hold up this OSB and then put a big chunk of those speakers into the ceiling. So we'll limit the loss of our ceiling space. It's a limitation. It's a compromise we have to make in this room, but you know, it is what it is. So, and for anybody that hasn't seen what this room is going to look like when it's done, let's find that. You guys get to see all my pictures right now.
So Benny, he just mentioned that. I'll throw this up there. That
Here
was
it
his
is.
question.
So here's the rear with the 50, and there's the cloud ceilings. All of these panels are removable. They sit on like it's almost like an all strut system, and then that system attaches to the OSB, so I can get behind any of these panels. And the
Mhm.
reason I have to level everything is because the walls actually don't touch the floor. There's a lighting element that goes on under here. And if I don't level the floor, you're not going to be able to, you're going to be able to see all of those deviations.
Mhm.
So instead of doing this floor, we're going to do concrete, and it's just going to saves money, it provides flexibility, and we're going to put rugs in here anyway. So it's not it is what it is. And if I want to add flooring later, it's not hard.
Yeah.
So, and then this is the screen wall.
That's gonna be cool, man. And
Yep.
what's the diagonal on your screen and the width? What do you think? Didn't you say
We're not
160?
entirely sure yet. It's going to be somewhere between 160 and 170.
Okay. Be a big screen, dude. That's gonna be
Big
awesome.
screen.
Roughly
big
how
screen.
far do you think you'll be from that? 11, 12 feet?
10 feet.
Okay. Dude, that's gonna be sweet.
11 feet. I mean, we're going to have a 50 inches in near field. It's going to be like, we'll have to see what that's like. Rearrange organs potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, it does.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was saying it does 105 dB at 5 hertz by itself. So which ceiling speakers? So they are the Ascendo, the 12 wedge 30s. And then you asked, Tiki asked, will black Duratex be black velvet dark for your void? So the Duratex, you're not going to be able to see it through a lot of this. You can potentially see it up through the clouds up here, but it's so limited that I'm not worried about it. All of this is going to be a goose light absorption material that's in these cloud panels that's covering the majority of the ceiling, but we wanted to have a lighting effect. So there's lights that sit in these that fire up into the ceiling. So you get this like revealed look. That's going to be all Duratex. So I'm doing the whole room to just treat for contrast. For any light that comes out of the room, I don't want you to be able to see anything that could be unfinished OSB. So we're just painting the whole thing. But that's the update on the room.
It's gonna be cool, man. I'm excited. David says, did you hit one or
that was Tiki? Sorry.
Oh, okay. Are any receiver companies coming out with Dolby Atmos Flex Connect receivers this year? Sounds like a product for people who want home theater sound in rooms that they can't build home theaters in.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of information up front, David. So as far as basically what information is out there publicly is probably what we know. So I haven't heard anything on that front.
Nope.
Lafayette, I have an Epson Home Cinema 3800 4K. Should I upgrade? 3800. Are you familiar with that one?
What do you feel like you're missing? Why do you feel like you want to upgrade? I'm not starring anymore, guys. By the way,
it's a cool thing to do. So that is, I'm just going to look at it. So about a $1,300 projector, $1,400 on sale. Originally it was about $1,700. 3 LCD. Okay, so it's 1080p native. Oh well, I guess that's fine because it's a 4K E-shift. 3,000 lumens, 100,000 to 1 contrast ratio.
That contrast ratio is BS.
Well, you know, it's Epson, right?
Well, all of them do it. I mean, it's.
Yeah. So, I mean, the biggest thing is like, I mean, what are you missing? How big's your, how much light output? What's it measuring? If you're trying to use that with a massive screen, it may not do well.
Yeah, but what would he replace it with 3,000 lumens?
I don't know. Christie, baby. Budget. There's a lot of direction. If you got some other input, let us know. If you're still in the chat. Tiki Time is monoprice monolith. Man, love how y'all think we are just like so tight with these manufacturers that they tell us
they don't tell us crap unless I'm like got a really good relationship with them. Then I'll learn some stuff. But
again, we can't share.
You guys wouldn't know.
Yeah. But yeah, are they coming out with so somebody mentioned this. Okay, so actually I can kind of address this, and that's because Hobie's talked about this. He really has, and I think I even saw somebody mention it in the comments. He shared in one of the podcasts or an interview I did with him that they really don't have any plans of doing a HTTP2. He'll just continue to add some, because he's like, where else can we go? We already
More
got a
channels.
16 channel. He's like, maybe we can add a little bit here and there, like what do they call it, rune integration if it doesn't do that, things like that. But he's just thinking that he'll just do some firmware updates on the HTTP1. So I don't think they're planning on making an HTTP2 anytime soon. Carlos, my Odyssey is not highlighted. Does that mean it's off? Great question. So Carlos, one thing that you have to be careful of, let's say and I didn't know this for a long time. I thought my AVR was goofing up on me. If you run Odyssey, and if you ever change I got to remember what it's called. It's basically like the configuration, the layout. Like if you go in there and change from a 9.1 to 11.1, it'll basically erase Odyssey and go, okay, you got to do that over. So when you go to the Odyssey tab, it's going to be grayed out. You can't toggle it on or on. So that may have happened. So if you change that configuration, maybe you added surround backs or took surround backs off or something like that, that can affect that. Because Odyssey's going, hey, look, we added we got a different layout. So this old Odyssey isn't going to do you much good. It's basically kind of forcing you to do it again. So that would be my question is did you do something like that? But basically, yeah. So if it's not highlighted, if you don't have the ability to go into Odyssey and change it from, I think it says bypass, flat, reference, and off. If you don't have those 4 options, then you need to rerun Odyssey. So one thing I did is I purchased the Odyssey app. So the good thing with that is when you run it from the app, not from the actual menu in the AVR, you can save that as like a preset. And so you can call it whatever. So I utilize that a lot because if I bring in, let's say, these Martin Logans into the theater room, I run Odyssey with my system, I can save that as Martin Logan F200 or Martin Logan, whatever, Motion XT. And then when I get those out of the room and I want to go back to mine, I just reload my JTR. So hope that answers your question, man. Marky says, good evening, morning. Good early morning, sorry, from the UK. Good to see you, Marky. Marantz announced the Cinema 30 to replace the 8015 anyway while talking about infrasonics, earthquake, sound, or butt kicker. You got any experience with the earthquake? So his question is really that last part.
Butt kicker.
I don't know anything about the earthquake.
Butt kicker is just the end all de facto tactile transducer. They're in the commercial game. They're what's used in simming. They're built to last forever. I mean, Jonathan and I took a bunch out of a decommissioned commercial cinema that had been in there for 20 plus years covered in gunk, and all we had to do was lube them up and they're off and rocking. So I would go butt kicker. Okay. I've used a bunch of other tactile transducers. Butt kicker is where it's at. Marantz announced Cinema 30 to replace 8015. They did. You just gotta, is what the Cinema 30 brings to the table worth it? Added sub outputs, DIRAC, HDMI 2.1. Maybe some versions the 8015 had that, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Alex the Great says, fellas, thoughts on or experience with Apple HomeKit? Seems like midway between Harmony and Control 4 for automation for those who can't afford Control 4 type of solution but want more automation.
I hate control systems. The problem with control systems is you're stuck with a dealer doing all of the additions and integrations. You don't get, at least you're not supposed to, access to set up the said control system. Harmony is good, but let's look back on what Harmony was. The Harmony remotes, in my opinion, they were really slow. Like, they didn't work very well.
I hate it.
They had their own level of issues. It was just kind of what we had, and it worked. And you always look more positively, I think, back on things in retrospect. HomeKit, I use HomeKit. Our whole house is built on HomeKit, and it works really, really well. I mean, I talk to Siri to control my house, and then we use the Apple TVs and all of our TVs outside of the theater. And the cool thing about them is they do CEC. So if I'm controlling the Apple TV and the TV also supports HomeKit, I can just ask her, and I won't say her name because she'll do it, to turn on the TV.
Mhm.
She'll turn it on. Apple TV will come on, and then I'll just control everything on my phone using this. So the iPhones have a remote built into them. This, right? And it's a big touchpad, a back arrow, and a play and pause button. And then you use your volume controls on the phone to control the volume.
Mhm.
And I don't have to worry about remotes anymore. It does it all for me. And then if I put something else in there, like if I use like a Blue Sound power node or a Sonos amp or a WeM or anything that also supports eARC and CEC, I control it too. And I'm controlling the volume that way. So it's way less to worry about. Now, if I'm in a theater, something to consider. My next move is probably going to be Ava. They haven't come in yet, but I'm really excited about them. Unfortunately, they're also dealer centric. But this was more for me and trying to evaluate if it's something I want to do for my customers. I mean, Michael,
Mhm.
you'll probably say there's not really a good remote solution for
Not
end
right
users
now.
right now.
I mean, there's only one, and I've shared with you the it used to be, oh man, because they changed the name. Oh man, YIO Remote 2, and now it's called oh my goodness, chat, help me out. It's not YIO anyway. Open Circle Remote 2 is the name. So that's the only one. So I don't know. I like MW's response. Get 3 remotes, tape them together, problem solved.
I figured with Kscape, Apple TV would be obsolete. No,
Yeah.
it's not, because YouTube TV, my kids like Disney Plus, YouTube itself, Netflix,
Mhm.
Prime. I mean, all of that stuff. There's shows that are on there that aren't on Kaleidoscape. Now, for movies that I want to watch, Kaleidoscape every day. Like, there's no comparison. If
Mhm.
there's a show that my wife and I really want to watch, we'll buy it on Kaleidoscape.
Yeah.
No question. But streaming still has its place. It's not
Mhm.
like you go into one of these and you immediately make everything else obsolete. You don't. You're adding something else because you're gonna still want to use those devices. Like if I want to watch Formula One, I can't do that on the Kaleidoscape, so got to do it on the Apple TV. Yeah, still having problems with my Apple TV remote though.
That's not good.
Not the phone remote, the physical one.
Okay. Dale the Hater says, any thoughts or knowledge of Jail Audio's home theater equipment? They have a killer 13-inch in-wall sub, but it's extremely expensive. JL has leaded the space for many, many years in like the car audio. And then when they came out back in, man, I think it was in the 90s, I remember hearing them. And even then, back then, they were very, very expensive. You just don't hear about JL very much
because they're
in the
expensive.
home theater space. Yeah, but Ascendo is expensive, but you're hearing about them. Storm Audios, I mean, Kaleidoscape, we hear about brands.
Yeah, but JL is expensive for a 12-inch subwoofer.
Doesn't matter though.
I mean, it does. Ascendo's not expensive for a 12-inch subwoofer.
What's the MSRP on it? Roughly.
Think for the 12, was it $1,400?
Okay, that's not expensive.
No.
JL, I think there's.
I'm not. Come on, man. I'm not doing that to myself.
Okay. All right.
I think that's now JL stuff is beautifully made.
Yeah, I like them.
Would I do a 13-inch in-wall with it? I mean, in all honesty, what I would probably do for an in-wall is do like Martin Logan or SVS for their in-walls.
Looking at their website to see.
Does Perlisten have an in-wall?
I think it's, is it this? No, that's an 8-inch. Is he saying there's a 12-inch in-wall?
13.
I see a Fathom 8.
Says there's a 13-inch. in-wall sub.
Okay, 10.
And Perlisten has a new in-wall, but it ain't going to be cheap.
So I don't see that. Can you give us a model number? I'm seeing a
He just put it IWSV2 SYS 213.
213. Okay, so that's not on their website. Let's see.
Maybe it's an integrator only.
JL Audio. What was it? Give me the model number.
IWS V2
IWS
SYS 213.
213. Let's see. Okay, here we go. That's an amplifier. Oh, because it's here we go.
It's a system.
$9,650.
Oh my God.
For 13s.
Oh.
Yeah, let me present this. Holy cow.
Wow.
That's not real cheap, buddy.
Wow. Wow.
Now is that one speaker? It's showing 2, but I don't know if that's
I'd imagine it's 2.
well, it says
system.
dual 13, so I'm assuming they're talking about one in one cabinet, one in the other.
That is a lot of money for
That's like
2 in-walls. Good Lord.
So I'm curious, do we got any
You could almost get 2 4000s for that.
Where's the specs on it?
How much does SVS charge for their in-walls?
So this isn't their website though. Let me copy this.
No.
Let's see. So that is okay. There we go. Yeah, 96. Here we go. Specs. Y'all still seeing that? Yes, you are. General specs. Let's see. So we're getting down to 26 hertz, Ryan.
I doubt you're even getting that low.
But I'm just saying, 26 hertz for 10 grand.
I want to say that SVSs are 2 for 3,000.
What's that? They're new ones?
They're in-walls.
SVS sound. Subwoofer's probably here.
You may just have to Google SVS in-wall.
Yeah. SVS in-wall subwoofer. Yeah, 3,000 in-wall. There we go. So those are dual 8s. Oh, not description. I wanted to click on specs. Frequency response. So it looks like they only go down about 30 hertz and they start dropping off pretty quick.
Yeah,
So
that's to be expected.
Yeah, so 32 hertz is what they're saying. And that's why you're saying the JL may not even get that low because they were saying, what, 26?
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, yeah, these are what, dual 9-inch, I think?
Yeah.
This is dual 9-inch. 800 watts, RMS.
I think it's $3,000 for a set of 2. I think. For 2 like separate subs.
For this? So these are $2,000 for
each.
Right.
For that and an amp, but then they do an amp and 2 subs.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think it's 3.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's a big difference. You're getting lower extension. I wonder what the output would be in difference because you're going.
Nicholas says 10K for 26 hertz equals depression.
It's a lot of money, man. I'll be honest.
That is a lot of money.
I think that's just always been, that has been a contention with JL Audio, is that it is expensive. And of course you can get a lot better performance for less. But they're beautiful cabinets. There's no doubt. They make really, really cool stuff.
They do. They do.
It's not quality components. I mean,
absolutely not. It's probably built really well and it probably sounds good, but
I've reached out to them before. I was wanting to do because I think their factory somewhere here in Florida. So I'd love to go by there and make some content with them, but never hear back from them. So sorry, JL.
Dell, if I were you, if you had to do in-walls and they were had to be stud spacing and stuff, I would Martin Logan or SVS. It's just they're better price for performance. I mean, you can get 6 subs from SVS and Martin Logan for the cost of 2.
He said the single of that JL is $6,000.
Oh,
that's a lot. Yeah. Well, I was going to share this real quick. Somebody asked, I don't even remember who it was, but they were asking about my no, not that. There we go. So this was a frequency response from the JTR Captivator RS2s. So this is a frequency response. You see we're pretty flat. Now this is what they UMIC 1 measurement. So here's where you almost always see this little hump in every measurement I've ever taken in my theater room. It kind of dips down and then it comes back up. So how accurate, like where is that? I don't know. You know, is that the goofy part? I don't think it's my room because I've moved subwoofers around. But as you can see, I mean, I've got a pretty flat response all the way down to 5 hertz. And then you can see it starts to drop off below that. So stop that. All right, last couple questions of the night. I got about 5 more I'm going to run through. Ryan, if running Arc Genesis, do you give the curve 10 dB or do you EQ relatively flat, then boost the subs to 10 dB after calibration? Also, how loud should 5 hertz be if 20 hertz is 10 dB hot?
I would EQ it. I wouldn't recommend necessarily turning it up afterwards because you could introduce other anomalies into the space. I would try and do it during the EQ process or before the EQ process and then allow Arc to do it. How loud should 5 hertz be versus I honestly don't have a good answer for that. It's subjective because 5 hertz you're not going to hear, you're going to feel it. So it's how much do you want to feel that pressurization? Like with what Jonathan was talking about with the subs being too tactile, right? It's all subjective. What he says he doesn't like, I love. So you've got to figure out what makes the most sense for you subjectively and then dial in accordingly.
Okay, I said we weren't going to star any, but this is a quick one. WK says, did you guys do a subwoofer shootout at M-Wave? We did do a subwoofer comparison at M-Wave. Stereo Integrity was not in that room. They had their own separate room. We had probably 7 different subwoofers. We had 2 big subwoofers, one from GSG that was a dual 21. We had the RS1 from JTR. We had SVS, Arendal,
ELAC, GSG, JTR, SVS, Martin Logan.
That was the other one.
Arendal.
So
Klipsch. I think that was it.
Oh yeah, we had the Clips, the new one. But yes, the Stereo Integrity wasn't involved in that. But
MW brings up a good point for whoever was asking about Arc. It's not going to be measuring 5 hertz. It can't do anything with 5 hertz. It may measure it, but it won't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So I guess it'll boost it. It can't EQ it though. No, it can EQ it. Never mind.
Grave Dangers. Do you guys like the spatial audio calibration disc from Technodad, Joe, and Tel? I have not seen it or used it, so I don't know.
I like Spears and Munsell. I think it brings more to the table. You get your audio calibration, your audio sync tools, and you get test tones and stuff for Atmos. That's not saying they made a bad product. It's just I get value out of Spears and Munsell.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Christopher says, do you guys keep bass management the same for 2-channel and watching movies?
No. My bass for 2-channel is higher, just because of how it's integrated into the system. And perceptually, it's similar, but I needed to boost it and have a separate EQ for 2-channel that my Storm automatically flips to when I'm using native for specific sources. And then it sounds and feels appropriate. Okay. But I don't
do a lot of, so my 2-channel setups in the living room versus the theater room. So I'm not switching back and forth. So I rarely, even if I'm listening to music in the theater room, I'm doing it in a surround sound setup. I never do like 2-channel in the theater room. So I don't, in Odyssey, I know there's a 2-channel section. And so you can make some adjustments there, but I don't really have anything there. Drake says, when should I upgrade my 55-inch Sony X75K TV? Got it 2 years ago, and I'm not sure on when is a good idea for me to invest in a better TV.
When you think it stops looking good. That's subjective.
Yeah.
When you think you need to upgrade is all I can say.
Yep.
Somebody may be happy for years and somebody may want to do it tomorrow.
Yeah. And again, you can go to some different shows and stuff. I know we're going to have a TV comparison room. I know I keep throwing M-Wave out there, but you guys asked the question, so we're trying to provide a solution for you. So Stop the FOMO is going to be there this year again with Brian, and they're going to have all different types of TVs. Usually it's the current TVs from Samsung, LG, Sony, Hisense.
And
We're going to have some big.
I don't think we're calibrating them this year.
Yeah. So the thought is we're going to have a reference monitor so you can see what it should look like, and then leave the rest of them kind of out of the box settings.
Because let's face it, most people are not going to calibrate them.
It's true.
And what ends up happening when you calibrate them is virtually all of them look the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they have minutia that are different, and there is going to be a winner.
Yeah.
But most people aren't going to pay a professional calibrator to come on and calibrate their TV. It's just not going to happen. Yeah. So we think it's more beneficial in our context for who's coming to view these in an uncalibrated scenario.
Yeah. So we'll have that M-Wave June 21st, 23rd, and get all the details and tickets.
I am hoping we can get a reference monitor there, though.
Yeah.
I may be able to get one from or borrow one. We'll see.
They're expensive.
Well, I'm not buying one.
I know,
but I may be able to get.
They're really expensive.
To be able to utilize one or have a loaner, because it'd be nice to be able to see what a TV is doing and then be like, this is how it should look. This is what I'm getting. How it should look, getting. And you may realize that you don't like how it should look, which is important to realize. And a lot of people don't necessarily like that. They have their own subjective opinion and tastes, and that's perfectly okay and should be encouraged. Sure. Start with a baseline, go to subjective taste.
CA says, I have a 6.1 surround sound. Is a second sub that much better? Great question there, man.
Yes. If implemented into the system correctly, it can actually be worse depending on how it goes in. I mean, if you put it in the wrong spot, you can cause problems.
Well, if sometimes they can fight each other.
Yes, they can cause nulls, cancellations, massive boosts that weren't there before, or modes. But done correctly, you can get a much flatter frequency response than you would just having one. You can get better seat-to-seat consistency and just an overall better experience, as well as more extension and SPL. So if done properly, it will be better. If not done properly, it can be a lot worse.
Yeah. Actually, you know, Ace of Base says 10 subs is the best. They actually say infinite subs is the best.
Maybe he meant 10 inches.
10 subs. 10 subs. 10 subs is the best.
No, as many as you can put in there. I think Scott Newby and Mark are going to do foundations made of subwoofers at some point. Just pure 4,000s.
It's going to be the next. I don't even know how to describe it, but
Scott one day is going to build a shop for his business, and it's just going to be 4,000s all the way around, double stacked, and then down firing 4,000s. And that's how he's going to work in a state of 40 hertz.
Yeah. So this is a good conversation. You know, Randy says, hey, look, it seems like a mistake to me not to calibrate the TVs, given the typical M-Wave attendees is a home theater enthusiast.
Yes.
So we had that conversation with FOMO and Brian. My initial thought was we probably should have them calibrated, but they did give a good argument that if we have a reference monitor there to be able to show what a fully calibrated system should look like, having these other ones, because here's part of it. They want that event to be very, very interactive. And so they literally want people to be able to come up and change settings on a Sony on this, because prime example, they want to be able to see and show what does the, what do they call it? Oh man, I just drew a blank. It's basically the one that's kind of calibrated. It's one of the presets. You know, you got like Cinema Bright, you got
like
this
movie mode.
I think it's
Filmmaker
called
mode.
filmmaker mode. That's it. So they want to be able to switch between those things. And when you've got a TV calibrated, there's no way we could have somebody calibrate like the TV and all of those modes for 8 different TVs. We just don't have that ability. So their thought of having, or I don't know if Ryan did it or if they did, recommending that we have a reference monitor there. I think that's totally valid. I get that. But like Ryan said, I'm a home theater enthusiast myself, but I haven't calibrated my my TV for a long time. I didn't calibrate my projector.
How many displays do you think are calibrated in my house outside of my theater?
Probably 0.
1.
Okay.
And that's my sim rig.
Oh yeah, so it's not even your one that you
No!
enjoy in the living room with the family.
Because so here is an argument that
Hmm.
FOMO and them gave is on a lot of the flagship TVs, the calibrations from the companies are getting so good that you're gaining and there is change, but is it worth it? And how many people are actually changing this? Because ask yourself this. How many of you guys actually have had somebody come out and professionally calibrate your TV?
I'm curious right now. Let us know in the chat. Just put yes calibrated or no calibrated. If you
Just
have
put yes or
calibrated your
no.
TV. Okay, that's true. Make it easy. Yes or no.
I'm betting
Have you
very few.
Have you calibrated your TV professionally? Just curious.
Like not buying a spider and doing it yourself and that stuff. I'm betting most people haven't done
No, nope, no. Yes. Okay. So David has. I calibrated my
There's
own.
some.
No. So
Yeah.
you can see the majority of people have not. No. See, tons of no. A handful of yeses.
And like usually we'll calibrate our theaters,
Do a
but we
poll on
won't
YouTube.
calibrate
Good
like
idea.
our living room TVs. So I argued against this for a while when they first brought this up, and then they talked to us about it a little bit and was like, it makes sense.
Because I was against it. I'm like, that kind of defeats what M-Wave is, because we like measurements, we like data.
Mm-hmm.
But then what they were saying, I mean, again, at the end of the day, the goal of M-Wave isn't to award a trophy. Let's just talk TVs. We're not awarding Samsung with a trophy because they beat out LG. The goal is let's be able to see different types of TVs, QD OLED, LCD, LED, whatever. Yes, dude, there's tons of no's, man. There's definitely just a few yeses. So calibrated TVs are definitely in the minority. And I would say the same thing on the projectors. The reality is most projectors, most home theater enthusiasts, they don't have it professionally calibrated either, I bet. Maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's more of them just because there's less of us, if that makes sense. Like everybody owns a TV, but not everybody owns a projector. So who knows? Yeah. Most people pick their favorite preset. That makes sense, Yeah, definitely lots of no's. But either way, we're going to have some fun at M-Wave, whether they're calibrated or not. And again, yes, the gear's cool. Yes, we're there for that. But I really, really hope you guys understand like how much we're focusing on building friendships, legit friendships. I love the fact that last year we saw it and I was surprised. I'm like, whoa, dude, there's some chicks here. There's some ladies here. Like these guys are bringing their spouses. And I saw a couple of children. And then this year I saw more registrations.
I saw some children.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like that's
Yeah.
surprising in a AV show and a home theater show. And then it's like, okay, now we've got people registering and they're registering for their families. I'm like, this is awesome, man. This is cool. Tony, you're right. It's all about the people, man. The community truly. Mikey brought his wives. That's awesome, man. I want to see families that are involved in this. If they're interested, like, Jessica, my wife, she's coming this year. She's going to help out with registration. Scott is bringing Kat. She's going to help out. So we got lots of folks that are coming that are guys, girls, children. We want it to be something that everybody can really just connect with. And there's some things that I'll be doing this year that intentionally is going to create some space for new friendships. Because one of the things that I hear a lot on my channel is, and I don't know, let me know if you can relate in the chat. I hear something similar to this. I don't know anyone in my area that's into home theater. Like none. Maybe there's one person, but most of us don't have a whole lot of people. What Ryan has in Kansas City is crazy rare. What Jonathan has, Kansas City, crazy rare. What Tony has in Wisconsin and Illinois area, crazy rare. Dallas is just now starting to develop some get-togethers in their area. I say just now, 2 years ago from M-Wave, when we first started this, Rusty met 2 or 3 other people that were from Dallas. And they're like, dude, we need to start getting together and check out each other's home theater and share this passion. And they began meeting. And Rusty told me not too long ago, he said, Michael, I want you to know, he said, I think you'll appreciate this. We have been meeting, not every single month, but pretty consistent since the first year of M-Wave. That's what it's all about, guys. It's all about building that community. And I see a lot of people mentioning in the chat, no one in my area is in a home theater. I can count on one hand the people that are into home theater. And Dell's like, dude, anybody in Atlanta? So what Dell is asking right there, anybody in Atlanta, that's part of what I want to do this year at M-Wave. From day one, I want to be able to introduce people. I want to find out where everybody's from so that you physically can see who's at the show, and be able to say, oh, dude, you're in my state. Let's exchange numbers. Let's see if we can meet up sometime. Dude, I would totally be willing. I've done it in Florida. I've driven all the way up like a 4-hour drive to check out somebody's home theater, So, but finding people in your area. Yeah. Most people in my area are okay with a sound bar. I get it. We all get it. So
I'm
that's
okay with a sound bar.
That's one of the things that I think you'll really see that is so different at M-Wave. You're going to leave there with some friends if you're willing. Now, if you go there and you're not willing to talk to anybody, then you're going to leave there with no friends. But I guarantee you cannot come to that show. And if you're open to meeting some people, I guarantee you're going to meet some people. It's going to be cool.
That's the important part. The experiences and the things you take away from the show. Because think about the last show you went to. What do you remember from that show?
Don't go there.
Well, the things that I remember are either the negative things or the conversations that I had with people that were there. I'm not talking about M-Wave. I'm thinking of like Cedia, ISE, Expona. I mean, I've been to a lot of tech summits. I've been to a lot of shows, and it's the things that I remember are the conversations that I have with people. It's the interactions that I have with others, and not the vendors that I've talked to or the demos I had, unless something really stood out in a positive or negative way.
Sure.
Then I may remember. But outside of that, it's the people, the experiences, and the relationships. I mean, if you think about, last thing I'll say about this, if you think about your own life, those are the best memories that you have are the ones that you experienced with others, typically, at least in my own experience. So that's what we're trying to create here is things that people can take away that they can then value and utilize in their lives going forward. The friendships and the relationships that they make there, instead of just coming and seeing some cool gear.
Yeah. So Ras, like, I'm curious, what is this? So it says M-Wave is the most highly personalized home theater marketing campaign.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like, what does he mean by that?
Well, maybe getting to talk to the vendors in an intimate fashion.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's a cool part too.
AV Tinder.
AV Tinder.
Maybe. Dang, I wish you could make it too, Nicholas. One day, man. One day you need to come. I know some of you guys are way across the world, and it definitely makes it more challenging for sure. So see, Drew, this is what I hate, man. Never been able to talk to anyone about home theater.
I think most of us have been in that boat.
Yeah.
Until we got into a situation with other people that had like minds. This happened to me. This is how I'm a huge nerd. So this happened to me when I was into Magic the Gathering, right?
Yeah.
You play and you're just playing with like my brother or something. You're like, I don't really know anybody else that does this. And then you start going to like the Friday night game nights or
Mhm.
the Grand Prix or whatever, and you find out that there's so many more people around you than what you knew that were interested in this. You just didn't have any way to locate them.
Yeah.
So once you start locating them, you realize, oh, there's many more people like me. I'm not this isolated case. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, you may be, but in most situations, you're not alone. There are a lot more people that share the same passion as you. They're just all feeling isolated in their own little bubble.
Mm-hmm. So we're trying to change that. We're two guys that are just passionate about this hobby, trying to make a difference, trying to create something unique, something that really hasn't been done before. I mean, sure, there's other trade shows and they're great shows, man. I go to them. I just got back from Florida Audio Expo. I'll be at Atlanta Home Theater. I'll be at Audio Device Live. These are great shows, but we're just trying to do something different in the space. So hope you guys will consider joining us June 21st through the 23rd. Get all the information on the website. But Ryan, anything else, man?
No, don't
Oh,
think
there you
so.
go.
We'll be doing this from Utah next week.
Yeah. If you build it, they will come. Well, and they have. I mean, the first year we had 83. The next year we had over 300. It's a small show, but I'm like, dude, we like over tripled the attendance in 1 year. That's cool. So, but yeah. All right. You're doing well, man. I appreciate it, Andrew. You guys are doing well. Love the videos and live streams. Very helpful. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. All right, guys. What month is June 21st through the 23rd of this year? You get all the information.
I'm
on the
happy to
website.
cuddle any of those that are willing.
Oh, mercy, man. You guys and your culling. Y'all can do that on your own time.
I didn't say it'd be on your time.
I
Yeah, my
have my,
time.
I have my wife there, man. Well, with that said, hope you guys have an awesome week. Oh, man. You'll make me
I know how to push Michael's buttons now.
You do. You do. All right, guys. Y'all have a good week, man. We'll catch you in the. Oh, so this coming up Sunday, Ryan and I will be skiing in Utah. So we might try like maybe a short. We won't do a 2.5 hour.
No, we'll do it. It'll probably be like 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah, we'll just do something short and sweet over there. So we'll have some fun. All right, guys. Y'all have a great week. Later.